6:30. I'm going to go ahead and call the regular meeting of the Lake Orion Village Council to order. Please rise and forward the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Rudd?
Here.
Pro Tem Ford?
Here.
Councilmember Mosher?
Here.
Councilmember Dandelides?
Here.
Councilmember Lamb?
Here.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Here.
Councilmember Papachek?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Item 4, presentations. We have none. So item number 5, call to the public. Each person wishing to address the Village Council shall be afforded an opportunity to do so. If you wish to comment, please stand or raise your hand to indicate you wish to speak. When recognized, give your name and address, direct your comments to the chair, and remember that comments are limited to 4 minutes. So I will open the call to the public on any non-agenda item. There will be time to speak on agenda items as they come up. Yes, sir.
Caleb Nagley, 324 at Water Street. Good evening, members of the council. So for the past couple of years, we've had people setting up beanbag games downtown, and I think beanbag games are great, and I like them, but I don't really like that they impede pedestrian traffic and obstruct it. And so a lot of times they'll be like right on the sidewalk, and you'll walk down and you'll be like, okay, I can't walk forward, or else I might get hit by a beanbag. So, or there's like a whole like wooden thing set up, so I need to like walk around and go out into the road and then come back, and it's annoying, but also it's like, I mean, at least for me, it's not that bad, but for some people who might be disabled, who might have strollers, like that's not good. They're probably gonna have to go find another path or something like that. And also, it violates the Lake Orion Village Code, Chapter 92, Section 4, as well as federal ADA Title II accessibility requirements. So I'd just like to, in conclusion, I would like to ask the council if the Lake Orion Police Department can remind downtown businesses and residents that sidewalks must remain completely clear of games and obstructions. I do think, they could set up the games in like Children's Park or Meeks Park, or I don't know, in the parking lot or something, somewhere else, I'm glad to see they're having fun. I just don't want it to obstruct traffic and, make it more, what do you call it, more just vulnerable to people. It's just not safe. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for call to public? Yes.
Greg Hill, Oxford resident, but business owner in downtown Lake Orion. I've been in, me and my wife have owned Ideal Core for 10 years. You don't really see us because usually we're out by noon. But like I said, we've loved being in Lake Orion for the past 10 years, and we are very against that presentation and paid parking. One of the big reasons is because we have our patrons coming in. There's no real parking issues at that time, and we would love for our patrons to be able to spend that extra $3 or $4 going down and getting a coffee, going down to getting a gift for their kid, rather than spending that into some parking company that doesn't really have any association with Lake Orion. When someone mentioned about how that's going to affect businesses, I know myself, I don't really go down to areas that have paid parking because, again, then I'm kind of struck by time constraints. I was just over in Clarkston this weekend. They charged me $6 flat rate, even though I was down there for 1 hour. And then when I was at the parking kiosk itself, it was down, and you had about a line of about 6 people trying to figure out the kiosk. You had people that were over on their phones. You have to take into account that 60% of Oakland County is now 60 plus. So many of them are having difficulty with app use, with understanding what areas are going to be paid for parking, and many of them were having issues with that as well. You also have to take into account that many of the members here today were running late, and they would be even more late to their appointments because they would have to now pay for their parking, and then now that causes a chain of issues down the line, because now I'm walking in late to my hair appointment, and then that hair appointment runs late, and then the next hair appointment runs late, and you're going to run down to a litany of issues because we have a whole lot of salons, a whole lot of by appointment businesses in downtown Lake Orion that I feel that it would negatively affect. When it comes to revenue generation, I would imagine that once we generate that new revenue, our taxes aren't going to be affected, correct? Because I don't remember ever a time that government brings in more money and then we actually see tax reduction down in that front line. And as we talk about, higher rates for water and sewer later on today, this is just going to tack on more and more on people who are already struggling. Again, our elderly members, many are already on a fixed income and don't really have some of that extra expendable cash to come down. They just want to come down and enjoy the downtown where living is a vacation, and now it's becoming a very expensive vacation. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for call to the public on non-agenda items? Seeing none, I will close call to the public. Item 6, approval of the agenda by order of the president. No matters will be discussed after 9:30 unless council votes to continue the meeting. George.
I would appreciate being able to add an item to the agenda, and this is in regard to our 2026-27 Objective 1.2, and that's form a committee to investigate and report on village township consolidation. There's new information that's come to my attention, and I'd just like to have some discussion around it if we could.
So is that a motion then to approve the agenda with that?
Sure.
Is there support?
Yes, support.
So if it goes, that would be item F under 10. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion carries. So that will be item 10F. Item 7, consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are approved by one vote. 7, I'll read those out. A, approval of special event outdoor movie night. B, approval of village council regular meeting minutes, June 8th, 2026. C, approval of village council special meeting minutes, June 8, 2026. D, receive and file DDA regular meeting minutes, May 19th, 2026. E, receive and file invoice distribution report for June 23, 2026. F, authorization for village president to execute documents related to the fiscal year Bureau of Justice Assistance Body-Worn Camera Grant Program. G, budget amendment year end. H, Board of Ethics term reappointment. And item I, Board of Zoning Appeals term reappointments. Mr. Lamb.
Can I drag down items H and I, please?
Yes. Anything else? I'll move to approve the consent agenda with items H and I removed for further discussion.
Support.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item H, Board of Ethics term reappointment. Mr. Lamb.
I brought that down because it says for the recommended motion to reappoint Chad Scribner to a 3-year term on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Has he decided to quit the ethics and move to the zoning board?
No, it is for the Ethics Board.
Okay, so then I'll make the motion to, I've never met him, but I haven't had any complaints, to reappoint Chad Scribner to a 3-year term on the Board of Ethics with the term to expire on June 30th, 2029. Is that the correct date?
Yes. Support. Any other council comments or public comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item I, Board of Zoning Appeals term reappointments.
The reason I drag this down is the Zoning Board of Appeals is a fairly autonomous body that has authority and control to grant waivers to our ordinances without court, village, or anyone else. So it's a very powerful body. I just wanted to ask one question of the village manager. Mr. Manager, have we had any complaints or have there been any inappropriate decisions made by the Zoning Board of Appeals that you're aware of during the term of the last office that we should be concerned about in consideration of our reappointment?
I am not aware of any.
I then move to reappoint Dr. Brent Naballo to a 3-year term on the Board of Zoning Appeals with a term to expire on June 30th, 2029.
Support.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
If I may, to move to reappoint Mary Chaka Crawford, sorry if I butchered your name here, to a 3-year term on the Board of Zoning Appeals with the term to expire on June 30th, 2029.
Support. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9, public hearings. Item A, public hearing on proposed fiscal year 2026-27 water and sewer rates. Mr. McCleary.
President Rutt, members of council, you're scheduled to hold a public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2026-27 water and sewer rates and to consider adopting a resolution establishing the rates for the ensuing fiscal year. The average water customer using 1,500 cubic feet or 11,220 gallons of water a quarter will see a 10% decrease in their water bill and a 32.5% increase in their sewer bill, due mainly to the anticipated issuance of $8 million in new bonds and first-year debt service for the phases 2 and 3, $10.8 million sanitary sewer pump stations improvement project. And at this time, Your Honor, if it's okay with you, I'd ask Public Works Director Sanchez to give a brief presentation on how we arrived at the proposed rates.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you. Most of this is just a review. We went over on Thursday. For those of you that weren't here, I'm going to run through this and explain everything that went into the water and sewer rates for this year. I'm going to do water first and then sewer, as we do calculate them separately. The current water rates for the Village of Lake Orion's per 100 cubic feet is $7.30. This first slide shows your customer and per size meter that they use. So we have 1188 customers with a 3/4 inch meter, 283 customers with a 1 inch meter, etc. And these are the revenues generated by those base rates. So for a total of 1522 customers at this time. This next slide shows water equivalents. So when we calculate water and sewer rates, we calculate them by equivalent meters. Not all meters are the same size, and they're treated as such. We currently have the equivalent of 7,936 meters in the village. And here's a description of how we get to that. A 3/4 inch meter is considered the standard meter for any residential customer. When comparing that with a 1 inch meter, you divide the square inch of a 1 inch meter, which is 0.785, by the square inch of a 3/4 meter, which is 0.442, and then your 1 inch meter becomes 1.78 meter equivalent. So in this column right here in yellow down the center, you can see for a 3/4 inch meter is 1, a 1 inch meter is 1.78 meters. Oops. A 1.5 inch is equal to 4 meters, a 2 inch is equal to 7, etc. So the customers with the larger meters pay proportionate to their meter equivalent. Moving on to the next one. This is our current bank balance for the water and sewer funds. We currently have in our reserves $3,864,000 approximately. And that is water and sewer combined. A large portion of that is reserves from water and sewer revenues. Another chunk of it is from reimbursements from the grant from phase 1 of the sewer project that we received, a portion of the $1.75 million, and that's all in here. And a portion of that will be used to supplement the phase 2 and 3 of the sewer project. This is just more of the accounts and what's in our investment accounts from the water and sewer fund, a little over $2 million. Moving on to the next slide. This is the operations and maintenance portion of the budget. I'll blow it up a little bit. This yellow column is the current fiscal year's budget. These numbers right here come straight from this year's budget. It's what costs to run the water department per year. So for this year, we have budgeted $399,000 to allocate towards water maintenance and what goes into it. This next slide is equipment replacement. and an equipment replacement schedule. We are due to have a meter change out in a couple years. As you can see, this is the percent consumed of some of these water infrastructure items. A lot of them are used up, some of them are new. But we put this in here because the village pays for replacement equipment out of the water and sewer rate revenues.
How much?
It's a rotating, it's in here, give me one second. So we allocate $100,000 of our bank balance, and then we charge $35,000 a year towards the equipment replacement, and we keep a running total. So every few years, we have a equipment change out. So in 2028, we're going to be doing a meter change out, and that's probably going to cost about $350,000. Reliability studies about $25,000. So you can see the number goes up, down, as we pay those items.
That was a 4% increase on everybody in that department?
It's not a department. Thank you. This is bond debt. This is the 2017 water main projects, phase 1 and 2. This is the payment on our current water bond debt. We took out a bond for a little over $6 million, and the payment on that every year is roughly $360,000. This is our final analysis. So with this, it's everything we just went through, and it's all calculated. And so if you see where my cursor is, the operating expenses, the $399,000, along with the water we purchased from Orion Township, $566,000, equates to $42.59 of your quarterly bill. The next little box down here is the debt. So our $360,000 a year payment towards the bond debt equates to another $45.41 of your quarterly bill. Over here in this column, you can see the per 100 cubic feet charge. So as we go down, it all adds up, and this is our total. So you can see this year, the total went down from last year, and that's largely attributed to the Mosheri customers that have come online. The more customers we have, the more we can spread that cost across more users, and it will bring that cost down. So this year in total, the entire water system.
I would ask the audience to not interrupt our Department of Public Works Director as he's trying to make his presentation. Thank you.
So, when do we get to speak? So this year with our entire budget and debt combined, we need to generate $1.4 million just to break even on the water system. Next slide is the average customer and what your bill would be and will be. So the average customer in the village currently with a 3/4 inch meter uses approximately 1,500 cubic feet. Their old bill was $207.16. Their new bill will be $186.51 per quarter. And down here you can see the other sizes, and this yellow box is their water usage, and these would be the changes in the bill. Old bill, new bill. The next slide is strictly just to show what the monthly bill would be as we are going to monthly billing in July. So if your old monthly bill would have been $134, it's now going to be $62 based on 500 cubic feet of monthly usage. So, you know, based on your usage in your home, this is what your new bill would look like per month for water, based on this usage over here. Moving on to sewer, it's more of the same. These are our current customers. Sewer's a little bit different because we have commercial customers over here and residential customers over here. So you can see the difference. The majority of our customers are residential customers, and this tells us how many commercial customers we have in this line right here. This is the same as the last slide, the meter equivalents. Because we have less customers, we have more water customers in the township that use township sewer. We only have 5,978 sewer customers. So that's a lot less customers to spread that cost over. That's largely why your sewer bill is different from your water bill. This is the current operating budget for the sewer for the upcoming year for operations and maintenance for the village side, not counting maintenance to WRC and our cost to send that waste out. That'll be in the final slide. And so for the phases 2 and 3 of the sewer, the pump station project, the village will need to bond roughly $8 million. That $8 million is going to generate a payment of $588,000. And the cost for that will be $98 per quarter estimated. This is total bond debt. So our current payment for phase 1 of the sewer project is $293,900 for the upcoming year. Our estimated cost for the $8 million will be $588,000 for a total of $882,554 for the upcoming year. This is the same as water. We can see that let me back up. So our operating expenses for the village are $304,000. Then we pay WRC $500,000 for upkeep, pipe cleaning, jetting, maintenance and repairs of our sewer system. And we pay Clinton Oakland Sewer Disposal System $655,000 to take our waste away and treat it. So total operations and maintenance is $1.4 million. And the payment on that, or the charge on that, is $109.93 per quarter for the operations and maintenance. The debt that totals $882,000 is another $147.62. So combined, the operations and maintenance and debt come to a total of $257.55 per quarter for your average 3/4 inch customer. And the per 100 cubic feet is $9.46. So moving on, your old bill, same as water, your old bill that was $299, you're looking at a $396 per quarter bill on your sewer. And that goes by how much sewer you use, same as water. 500 cubic feet would be $209 to $301, etc. Breaking that down monthly, your expected monthly bill will be, if you use 500 cubic feet of water, your monthly bill will be $132.14 for sewer. And that's all I have.
Thank you. So we are going, I would ask the village manager, we are going to have council discussion on this. Would it be most appropriate to have council questions on the presentation first or public hearing first?
Public hearing first.
Okay, so council will have to hold their questions because I will have to open the public hearing on this. I have to open the public hearing, so it's not time for council questions.
I wasn't going to ask a question, I'm asking for the floor.
No, I'm going to open the public hearing.
I'd ask for the floor. I don't think you can take the floor as a prerogative to open a public hearing. I think you have to recognize me to speak.
Would you have any guidance on that?
I'll be brief.
Your Honor, I would prefer that you open the public hearing, hear public comments, so that you can also discuss any feedback you get from citizens, unless there's a good reason why the
Yes, I
comment
wanted
should
to
be
make
made
the-
before the public
To
hearing.
make a motion, and I asked for the floor.
I would
I-
hold the public
I-
hearing first.
So I mean,
Mr. Lamb?
okay, so I'd like to make a motion.
Eh,
So I'd like to make a motion to roll back the sewer and water rates to the 2024-25 level, and direct the village manager to provide a proposal to finance the bonds within the structure of the existing village tax revenue. That's just a motion. So roll back the rates and have them come up with a better idea to pay the tax for the bonds. So.
I hear no support. The motion does not continue.
Thank you for the time.
I move to open the public hearing on proposed fiscal year 2026-2027 water and sewer rates.
Support?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The public hearing is open. Now, remember that in this public hearing, it is not a time that we will debate. It's a time for you to give us your opinion that we will take into consideration when the public hearing is closed. The council will then discuss to take action. So at this time, I'll open the public hearing for public comments on the water and sewer rates. Are there any comments?
Sorry, Mike. So I have looked at all the water bills on my road. It's public. We're able to look at them. The thing that I found interesting is not this bill or the bill before. Mike and I had the exact same bill to the penny. Okay? Weird, right? Because I don't work from home. I'm away all day. My husband works from home. My neighbors, exact to the penny. So you must have flushed the toilet the same amount of time we did and took the same amount of showers, which is weird because I don't do it every day. No offense. My neighbors, who are gone all day, had a $175 bill that was more than ours, and they're gone all day, young couple. The people next door to me had massive amount of people constantly in and out, roommates, things like that, and their bill was $400 less than ours. I'd like to know the line, the quarter line, how that's being determined, because I can't believe that these numbers are accurate. I'm all for paying whatever's due, but I don't believe these numbers are accurate. And I don't believe that whoever's determining, running around with their meter readers are completely accurate, because I know that Mike is not there all the time. Sometimes he is. My husband doesn't flush the toilet every day. Well, he does. But I tell him not to because our water bills are too high, sewer. So that is something that's a really big concern to me. And especially as we start aging and all of the neighbors on my street, in fact, the people that are retired, their bills are just as high as ours. One of them is a single woman. And how is that possible? So if you're going to, figure this out, you need to really look at the actual usage, because I think that somebody is just throwing numbers out there and putting them on bills and having them pay us. And I mean no disrespect, but I'm just saying that that's a concern. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dana Kroll. I live at 864 Orion Road. I don't live in the village. I didn't choose to live in the village. I have no voter representation. I can't vote for anything in the village. Yet I'm getting hit with this, and I have my own septic. But I get water through the village. I have no option, no choice. I don't have any. I run a small market garden farm that requires water. I don't earn a whole lot of income. I'm visually impaired. I can't drive, so I can't get to gigs that normally other people would get to. So I set up a market garden farm on my 1 acre property, okay, which requires water. But now I'm afraid I won't be able to grow the vegetables that people come by and get. And some people pay, some people don't. It's kind of a thing I do. But I don't live in the village, and I don't have the representation. So I don't have any option. The other disturbing thing is we all get the water from the same source. We all know that. It comes from Great Lakes Water Authority, okay? So whether I live, I get my, if I, like, I have my mother-in-law lives in Orion Township. Her bill is 400% less than my water bill. 400%. That's not 10%, that's not 20, 50%, that's 400%.
How's that possible?
How is that possible? How can you justify that? And if you can, we need to see the numbers. We need transparency. We need transparency. That's why we're all here. It's not fair. And I think, and I hope this isn't the case, I hope you guys don't think, well, we just hope y'all go away and quit complaining about the water and the sewer. But we have to see real numbers for justification. Is that a fair, is everybody else with me on that? We need to see real numbers. It's not a big ask. We need transparency. And I don't know how much time I have, but the other question I think everybody has is how many cents of our payment goes towards the current water costs and how many cents goes towards past debts? That's another thing we need to know. And legacy, or whatever you want to call it. But that's, the numbers need to be presented in a way where everybody can understand it. I can't see the chart that he's doing up there. And I don't know whether my meter's 3 inches or 1.5 or whatever it is. But it sounds like to me the meters aren't reading accurate. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Brenda Beyer, 172 Sabre Way. I only have a couple comments, and I have been fighting my water bill since 2012. I've been here every single time, 2012. It's 2026, and you are not giving me any options, but it's going to cost more. What happened between 2012 and 2026? You just keep... Thank everybody for coming. This is wonderful to see all these people here, because it's going to get worse if these numbers keep going up. And the other thing that I really think is very, very important is transparency. I was at meetings, and the meetings that were on the board were not the meetings that got in the paper, that were in the meetings that you guys went to. Non-transparency doesn't do anything for all of us. And I think all of us in this building have to be over 50 years old. So where do you guys think that we're going to go on retirement to pay for our water bill? Where am I going to go? Where am I going to move? Lake Orion is not Royal Oak. It's not Rochester Hills. It's a mile. It's a mile. And I got a gentleman that is correct on the village playing wacky, the ball game. You're all over the place. And the other thing, the last thing I have to say is instead of telling me it's going to cost me more, what are y'all doing to help me out? What did I tell you? You get nothing. Pay my next bill.
That's real. That's real.
Hello, my name is Amy Tunney. I'm at 94 North Shore. And at the meeting last week, I was asked by council if I had any suggestions because the almost 100% increase over the past year is unreasonable. So I have a couple questions and I do have a couple suggestions. So my first question is, what are the next two increases expected to cost us? And I'd like to get the numbers for what is the total expected cost to have somebody come out to read the meters monthly versus quarterly, and to send out bills monthly, as well? And what is the expected revenue for the village from monthly late fee collection versus quarterly? Because that's going to be a significant more amount of people that potentially are having late fees. So what is the revenue that's expected to generate for the village by doing this monthly? I know this is supposed to be for us so that we can budget better. It's not a budgeting issue, it's an affordability issue, but I'd like to know what those numbers are, because I'm not sure that having a monthly bill is actually going to be beneficial if there's an additional cost for the meter readings, for the mailings, for the staff to do those things, and for the late fees that we're going to have to remember monthly now to pay versus quarterly. So I don't know if I can find that information somewhere publicly, or if that's something that I can be provided, all of us can be provided. My understanding from earlier from Mr. Sanchez is that we are not paying directly for the meters. The village covers that, so we're paying into the bill for the new meter cost. There's not going to be an additional increase for us for the meters? Okay. And at the last meeting, it was discussed that we are a customer of the township, so we don't have any room to negotiate water rates with the township. But then it was also mentioned that we have over 200 township homes that we provide water for. So to me, we're now reciprocating services, and that would be an opportunity to negotiate. Because I would assume the township does not want to have 281 residents who don't get our water. So that seems to me that that might be somewhere we could say, we're supplying you, you're supplying us, why can't we find some type of compromise on the cost? Can our water be bought from another source? Is there any other water source options than from the township? Could we buy water from Oxford? I don't know, I'm not a civil engineer, or I don't know these things, these are just questions. And since the DDA area gets a lot of money, but they get the different rates than what we do, why can't we expand the DDA? We use the lake for DDA events, Dragon on the Lake, the jet ski races. Flint Street gets used excessively whenever there's an event downtown, so we are paying for the special street improvement on our side for people that are attending DDA events downtown. So that could be an option if we could expand the DDA or reduce the DDA because it has gotten much too big for what its purpose was over the years, and it needs to be right-sided, and some of that money could be used to help the village residents. I wanted to know about postponing the sidewalk and road assessment projects. I understand that those are both grants, and those grants are going to expire if we don't use them. But why couldn't the money that is expected out of us for the non-covered area...
That's 4 minutes.
Okay. The one last thing I'd like to ask is the suggestion that you had asked if I had suggestions. And my suggestion is, why can't we do something like scrap the lumberyard project and sell that property to pay for the infrastructure that we already have?
Good evening. Thank you for your time. Kathleen Schmidt, 165 North Shore Drive. I'm just wondering, in the past, you have not included sprinkling irrigation into the sewer bill. Is that something that you can review? Because why am I paying sewer on all my water I'm using to water? We don't water out of the lake. Just wondering if that's something that you guys can consider again. And you can really look at someone's bill and see what their water usage is in the off-season versus the season to know who truly waters and who doesn't. Because I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm going to be forced not to be able to water or start to water out of the lake. And that's one of our most valuable assets here. And we just don't do that. We choose not to. So if you can just consider that, I would be most appreciative. Thanks.
Hello, Don Connery, 745 Central Drive. And I want to thank Mr. Sanchez. I read his report last Thursday. It's 24 pages, pretty comprehensive, goes over it well. A lot of effort into that, so thank you for that. What I didn't hear today mentioned was, although we have a smaller population to pay for the sewage than we do for the actual water, I believe there was a comment made last Thursday about twice as much sewage that we're paying for as we are water that we're getting. And there was a discussion about that. So if the water bill is now going up almost $100 per quarter, and we can't figure out why we're cleaning twice the amount of water we're getting, we really need to find out from you and find out. And I'm sure there are companies out there, so if we don't have the money to pay for it up front, we can give them a percentage of the savings and let them go find that out. If you give them 10% of the savings, 50%, that's 50 or 90% we're going to have that you can use to reduce the bill. I guess I'm also wondering whether you have a grant writer. I know that you've gotten some grants for the first part, but there are multiple grants that could be there. Those grant writers do it in the same way, either per fee or part of the savings of the grants that they get. So you're looking for solutions. We're trying to come up with some alternatives. Have we contacted the county or the state to look for any assistance in that, or even the federal government, Eagle? Have they been contacted to see what they can do to help assist us? And as I asked Thursday, you told us historically the village has had its water system because that was around before the township. Well, now the township has a water system, and we've got 15 households to distribute this $12 million worth of debt, or maybe it was 8 and 614. I don't remember the exact numbers that you quoted there. So if you got to divide 14 million up over 1,500 houses, that's how we end up with these water bills that are sized they are. I'll wrap that up by saying previously we were supposed to have a committee that would allow us to look at ways that we could save money or work with the communities and see whether savings are possible. That committee only met once and opted for legal reasons, maybe the wrong ones, not to do anything. So now that you've already got your 2025-6 budget last month, I really think you should consider having that committee, looking at all the benefits that could be brought to bear that might save us money. Or if, people said, why would the township want to take our water on? Well, we've got all new pipes, right? So it's as new an infrastructure as anybody has, and then you've got more households to distribute that cost over, bringing the water bill down. But if we don't have the conversations with them or the state, we're never going to know. So as an outside solution, bring back that committee that was recommended, leave them do the work, see if there's places where we can combine services, reduce costs, and see if we can bring these rates down. Thank you.
Delaney Tunney, 94 North Shore. The water and sewer raises need to slow down as they are not sustainable at all. I know you said that people can pay monthly because it's going to be easier to budget, but as my mom also said, it's not a budgeting issue. It's an affordability issue. Expecting residents to pay $600 or more a quarter for water and sewer is absolutely ridiculous. My next door neighbor, who is one person, has the exact same water bill as us, a house of 3. That is absolutely ridiculous. She has set up a security camera because she believes that someone is using her hose. Because why else would her water bill be that high? She has checked for leaks, she has no leaks. Why would it be that high? Expecting your residents to pay that much? Not at all acceptable, because people are going to start moving because they cannot afford to pay that. Who is going to want to move to a town where they find out from people that they might be paying $600,000, $700,000 a quarter for their water? That's going to put more strain on the residents that you already have, because there's going to be fewer and fewer people living here. Additionally, I know you guys said you can't use the DDA budget or funding because of the laws. I understand you have to follow the laws. However, if you do not lower the water rates, there's going to be less businesses in downtown because they're going to have to raise their rates in order to cover their water bill. People aren't going to be able to afford to eat at the restaurants downtown, go into the shops, go to these different businesses, and there's not going to be a downtown for there to be downtown events if this continues. I know on Thursday, the council had also asked for ideas about how to, raise, or how to lower these water bills. Has anyone asked the township if there's any assistance that they can give us? I believe on Thursday, someone said, no, we have not asked the township. I understand they probably don't want to take on our system that's failing, but if we get assistance with them, we'll have a newer system. It'll be less cost in the long run. You guys said that you have $3 million in reserves. Use that. Why can't we use that? That is a reserve fund. From my understanding, that's like a savings account for, oh man, my car broke down, I need to get it fixed. Oh, I have this extra money set aside. Why can't we use that? Additionally, the council could do a fundraiser, like a flower sale, a car wash, a bake sale, to help pay for these repairs. Some sort of fundraiser in a way. Is there a way that the council could look into local assistance, that they could share the information with residents so that they could have assistance and funding for getting high efficiency shower heads, water faucets, toilets, to help us cut down on the cost of being able to shower and use our bathrooms and clean our dishes? Are there looking into like additional government grants and funding? Is there an emergency grant that we could apply for to help us pay for this? I really hope the village does look into these possible solutions to keep the increases at a minimum, or even able to go back, like Council Member Lamb said, because if they continue at this rate, no one is going to want to move here because no one's going to be able to afford their water. They might be able to afford their home loan payments or their rent, but this rate is going to be close to half of what someone's rent might be. I would hate to leave the village. I've lived here since I was 3 years old. I've lived here 25 years. I do not want to have to leave the village because my family and I cannot afford to pay our water bills. Please look into this. Thank you.
Harry Stephen, 311 North Shore. The village has multiple systems that are village-wide. The roads, to some degree, sidewalks, water system, and sewer system. In the road system, we are using special assessments in which people are paying for the work to be done in front of their house. In the sidewalks, people are now paying for the work that's being done in front of their house. Now let's look at the water and sewer. We're all using the water, we're all using the sewer. But the $8 million bond is being spent in a specific area. My suggestion is that a special assessment district could be considered for those who are benefiting from the sewer pump stations, thus relieving the price or the cost of sewer systems throughout the entire village and having the user pay for what they are doing. Thank you.
Anyone else for the public hearing?
May I speak again real quick?
Each person's allowed once. Seeing none, I will move to close the public hearing on fiscal year 26-27 water and sewer rates.
Support.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Council will now consider a potential adoption of the resolution establishing the water and sewer fees and charges. So, Council. So I want to address a couple comments here.
Madam President, point of order.
I'll make a motion. I'll make the motion first to adopt the resolution establishing the 26-27 water and sewer fees and charges pursuant to chapters 51 and 53 of the Village of Lake Orion Code of Ordinances.
Support.
So a few comments that I have from what I heard from the public as I go through this. I know this presentation that the DPW manager made was presented to the council also last week, so if you are interested in looking at that, I know on the screen it's hard to see as he's scrolling through. I would encourage you to go on our website and look at that past meeting to see all those numbers, because it does break down what is going to the debt service for the water main project that was done back in 2017, the debt service from the first phase for the sewer pump stations, and what is projected for the rest of the sewer lift stations. So if you're interested in the details of how each of those things are calculated, that presentation will highlight and break down all those different numbers, and you have time to then peruse it instead of it being flipped through on the screen. I know it's a lot of information to take in at once if this is your first time seeing that presentation. The metered lines, how to find out the size, the vast majority are 3/4 inch lines for residents. If you have a specific question about, man, is mine actually a 1 inch? I feel like my bill is higher than it should be. Our DPW director will be able to answer and tell you, if you contact him, what size your line is, what size your metered line is. So he would be able to give you that information, because there are a few residents that do have 1 inch meters as well. There was a question about what the next increases are expected to cost. So for sewers, we don't anticipate, because this is phase 2 and 3, any major sewer infrastructure that I'm aware of after these lift stations are completed. We do have 2 more phases of water mains to do. They are not projected to be, they're not scheduled in on when those are going to happen at this time. There are, I'm speaking right now.
I was in that point of order.
I'm speaking.
It says in Robert's rules that I was given today by council that I can interject with a point of order.
What's your point?
The point of order is that the administration should be answering all the questions with regard to the water and sewer rates, the billings, and any methods submitted to the administration.
I am allowed to respond.
So your general opinion may be represented if you represent it as the general opinion of yourself and not.
I am responding to questions from residents.
Thank you.
So we don't have those scheduled in that I'm aware of. Administration could speak to that. There are opportunities to look at funding for those types of things as well. Administration would have to answer, I know they do have the total cost on monthly versus quarterly, how much it's going to cost for billing, and I'll defer to them because I don't have that figure off the top of my head. And I also have no idea about revenue, late fee revenue monthly versus quarterly. And I think there was one other thing that...
Irrigation.
Oh, yeah, we are, did we pass that yet? I don't remember.
Yeah.
We did pass something for the irrigation system and sprinkler system, so I would encourage you to connect with village administration on that. We do not have a grant writer that we have, the in-house here at the village. We have applied for federal assistance through our Congresswoman's office, through our Senator's office. We were not selected this year from our Congresswoman. I don't know the status for our senators. So those are a couple of the questions that came up to respond to those things. And I would say nobody here wants to raise your water fees. We are all residents. We all have to pay those increases too. When I look back, I moved here 14 years ago, and I look at my water bill from 14 years ago, and I look and sewer bill, and I look at it today. I don't want to pay that, but also we have to fix our sewer system. Excuse me, we don't allow for interruptions. We do have to fix our sewer system. We don't have a choice in that. Water Resources Commission tells us we have to fix our sewer system. We have to. None of us want to pay those bills, but sometimes we have to make the hard choice to move forward because for 50 years, nobody put a savings account for that. So now we're left in the place that we are at. Do we continue to push it off and let water systems, sewer systems potentially fail? That's not a legacy I want to leave behind in a potentially polluted lake. And so while I don't want to raise these rates personally, we also have to do our due diligence as this council to make sure our water systems are protected and functioning. Other council comments? Mr. Lamb.
Thank you. I'm sorry if my interruption. I just didn't want to have my comments reflected as being representative of others. My comments are only my own. I don't speak for the village council. I only speak for myself. On this particular topic, I made the motion to roll back your rates 2 years before all this madness started, and I didn't get any support because it's kind of an extreme measure and probably something that would need to be discussed. 4 years ago, I wrote a letter to village manager Joe Young, and I explained to him carefully the exact situation that is taking place now. Some of you remembered, I sent copies of my correspondence to everyone. Several months after that, Joe Young was told by the members of the village council that if he did not resign, he would be fired with no benefits. And, you know, I have some evidence to that effect, if anyone would care to check the facts. After that point, I advised the village council that selling $5 million in bonds to buy an old lumberyard was probably not a good idea because we had $12 million in infrastructure debt. Once again, there were not sufficient votes on council to stop that action. All right? So at that point, it became clear to me that we have a political party in this village. And the political party is not being run by the citizens, and that I was fighting an uphill battle because of the pressure being exerted somewhere on certain people for some reasons that I don't understand. I believe that there's adequate tax dollars being charged to the residents of the village to cover the costs of the failings of our forefathers, meaning the $12 million in sewer infrastructure debt that you are being forced to pay now should have been planned for in the past because they had knowledge and awareness of it well over 10 years ago. I have tried to get that taken care of. I believe the only way to restructure this village so the citizens don't have to pay is to rearrange the political structure of our village. That means that perhaps 25% of our tax revenues are going to a particular politically motivated source to benefit the certain areas of our village. It just so happens that that amount of money would be adequate to pay the bonds. And I heard a resident say something about, oh, if we took all the money out of the DDA's bank account, paid off their bonds, and then sold the lumberyard, which is now a project with a gravel parking lot and a barn structure, non-revenue generating, there will not be 200 more sewer customers. No, there will not be 200 more water customers there. There's going to be a barn and a parking lot so you guys can go and have little parties, which is fine by me if that's what you want. So I believe that by restructuring the village government, it may be difficult for some of you to accept. It may be difficult that perhaps we need to not pay someone $80,000 a year to water flowers downtown, that the village has other needs that we need to address. So the DDA has been here for over 40 years, absorbing our support and our love while they help to rebuild their area of the village. Well, it's pretty crowded down there right now, and we need parking meters because there's so many people going there. Why doesn't the village council focus on the citizens of the village and focus on proper use of our tax dollars? So I support rolling back the sewer and water rates and finding another way to pay all those bonds. It can be done. I've laid out all the numbers. I've got presentations. I've sent letters. I've calculated dollars. So until the village council as a body decides to do something differently, the village is doomed. You're going to pay, and pay. There's no real savings in combining the sewer and water with the township because we're stuck with the debt. In the long term, of course, having more customers means our water rate would be less, our sewer would be less, but combination, consolidation is not going to get rid of the debt. The township will not absorb our debt. We are stuck with that debt. So how can we pay that debt down? So if we want to consolidate with the township, seems to be a big momentum for that, it may be necessary for us to find a way to reduce our debt. So that's all I can offer you tonight. I've laid out many, many other things. I will not be voting to increase your rates or taxes ever again as long as I'm sitting here. And that is just all I've got to say. Thank you.
Other council comments? Mr. Dandelides.
So I appreciate that, Michael. I will remind you that I suggested a committee that we had the first part of the year to, in fact, the purpose of that committee was to come up with a way to fund the completion of the water, or the sewer pump stations without impacting any further impact on water sewer rates, right? And I put together a very comprehensive list of ideas to do that. You participated in that committee, and the only thing that you wanted to support was defunding the DDA. Now, that could be one of the options, but you didn't support any of the other things that were on that list. So I invite you to work with council and try and come up with solutions, because you continually want to work.
Remember, comments need to be made through the chair, to the chair, through the chair.
Thank you, Madam President.
I would invite working with any of the members of council to come up with solutions for the problem, but I want to work together on it.
Ms. Mosier.
So I am not a mathematician like Mr. Lamb, but I heard everybody, and I thank you all for bringing your, all of your information and your worries. We all are worried. I liked a lot of what I heard from you. I like the suggestions. And I do think, as Dorothy said, we should be looking at the actual usage. That's really important. I'm not sure why that's so different amongst us. And I do agree that that we need to look at some of the other options, which basically the DDA is a big option. Can we take some of that money? Can we move it? Can we look at that in terms of using some of that money to pay for some of this? I do not agree that we should be increasing our water and our sewage as we are. However, again, we did not have in the past sufficient votes from the council to be able to change that. And it has been going on for years. And we're at the point now, 20 plus years later, everything is failing. So we have to do something for the water and the sewer, and we have to, or people will not have water or sewer that will be working. So we have to do something. And I feel that in the past, we just have not had the votes that we needed from the council. This is a new council now than was in the past, but we're still struggling. So I agree that the committee to look at other ways of dealing with it is an option. However, we need to take a long, strong look at, hard, strong look at where we can get the money from. And one of those places is from the DDA, the lumberyard, and the expenditures that are going on there. And somebody had said, and I wrote it down, I don't remember who, had said, you know, why is the DDA getting all the money and the village people are not? The people that actually live in the village, the people across the street. I don't know. I've been contemplating that now for almost 4 years, and I don't really understand. But the rest of us that don't live in the DDA are not getting the benefits that some of the people that are living in that district, which is a small minority, I might add. Out of 3,000, it's probably less than 1,000. So I would like to see something done, of course, but I am not going to vote to increase any water or sewer for any of you. I don't want it to increase for me. I don't want it to increase for you. And there has to be another way. Mr. Sanchez did an amazing job. He pulled what he was asked to do was pull the numbers together, which he did. And you can all see it, what it's going to cost. It's up there, it's evident, it's clear, but I will not vote for an increase for any of us. So, something else needs to be looked at in terms of funding. That's my point. So thank you.
Mr. Comparoni.
Well, I'll keep it short and sweet like I normally do. I'm going to vote no on raising any of the things. I'm hurting too. Everybody up here is hurting. And we're just going to force management here to look for alternatives. And the council, I can't come up with alternatives, but I can just say no. So we do need to get a committee. We've got some pretty intelligent people up here, and I would support whatever they come up with. But tonight, I am not going to adopt this resolution for that or for the rest of the year. As far as that goes, I'm not going to raise anybody's rates.
Ms. Pepchik.
Yeah, just to reiterate some of the points and bring up my perspective as maybe a newer resident in the community, but I moved here about 4 years ago, so I've seen and felt a lot of these increases, right? It's very surprising to me, and I agree with President Rutt and everyone. Nobody likes the increases. It's not something anybody wants to do. We've got aging infrastructure that needs to be replaced, and I think it's better to proactively replace that than to wait for a failure when the expenses are going to be even more. And one of the questions I get quite often is why, and I heard it tonight. Why is it so expensive? Why is it so expensive? My point of view, the lake is probably our biggest natural asset, but it also creates some complexity, right? You think about, if you look at the infrastructure needed to get water and sewer around to all the residents on the lake, it's a lot of infrastructure per capita, right? We've got a couple thousand residents. I think there's 7 pump stations on Central alone, 16 or 17 around the community. And I know that doesn't make anyone feel good, but at least in my head, that helps explain part of the why. A lot of infrastructure, not a ton of residents to spread it around. So, and they're coming due, and it's $8 million. It's not a good situation to be in, but it's an expense that, like Councilman Lamb said, is going to be incurred. So to me, the discussion then focuses to how do we fund that expense? And I certainly don't want to dip into the residents' wallets, or our wallets, right? So I'm not going to be in favor of passing these increased costs along to all of us. I'd like to see more of a fresh look at all the funding sources. There's a lot of talk about DDA and TIF maps. That's one funding source, but I think periodic reviews of all funding sources should be looked at to see if we're putting the money in the right places for the biggest needs, right? There's all kinds of different definitions of infrastructure and where should infrastructure money be spent. And to me, it's on more of the essential services, sewer and water, versus maybe other things like bank stabilization, right? These are all infrastructure decisions. But I think we've heard from a lot of the residents that the sewer and water is a pressing need, and that's where we should look to divert some of the funding to that pressing need. So I think when it comes down to it, I think that's what we have to look at is those funding mechanisms and how can we help pay off some of that debt more effectively without, like I said, relying consistently on the residents in our paychecks. So those are just a few of my perspectives, but know that when we look at that, there's trade-offs, right? That's the part, everybody wants everything, and we all want to pay the same amount, right? We want a beautiful downtown. We all want thriving businesses. We want a lumber yard. We want great streets, nice sidewalks to walk on, beautification downtown, streetscapes, lighting. We want all these things. We got to figure out what do we want more in terms of a priority. Do we want to fund water and sewer and take a little bit away from other, maybe less critical needs?
Yes.
So I think those are the discussions as we look at alternatives. There's going to be some pain because $8 million is a lot for any entity to shoulder, but it's kind of like trying to determine the least painful way to get that infrastructure funded.
Mr. Ford?
I think the key word that I heard there was trade-offs and the willingness to trade things off. There are people sitting on this council that don't want to vote for water rates to go up, but they voted for their street to get paved and get special assessment. So on one hand, we don't want to pay taxes, but I'll pay for this special assessment on my street. So how do we balance all that? I think people, are willing to pay for things that they're willing to pay for. My other concern is the lake issue. How much time do we have to figure out different ways to fund the pump stations before a pump station breaks down? Well, before it breaks down, and now we're polluting the lake because we didn't fund this. I encourage administration to come up with other methods of payment, but I think in my view, I have to vote for this so that we protect the lake. And then, work on different ways to supplement that debt and to find things, rather than look for things now and run a risk of a pump station breaking down, and we got to pay for it then for sure, and it creates other issues. Anyway, and you know what? I think that the other thing that I appreciate the DDA and what they've done, and in my mind, it keeps our tax dollars here. We send a lot of money out to other entities that don't come back. Every grant we push for or apply for and get or don't get that's our tax dollars that we're not getting back. You get a grant, great, but that's our tax dollars. But it's hit and miss whether we get that tax dollar back. DDA structure keeps our tax dollars here, and then it can be used. We do have some other issues down the line that fall into the DDA area, and we don't have the DDA, and then we'll be paying for those out of our pocket too. The DDA captures our taxes, keeps them here, and it captures taxes that would go out to other entities, and keeps those taxes here. My concern with the only other thing that I'm familiar with for that DDA property was more housing. Well, that could add, more bills and make the water bill go down, but then we'll complain about what? Traffic. And so, it's a trade-off. It's back and forth. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Dandelides.
Back in April, we approved the 2026-2027 budget. Prior to that, there was a suggestion, a recommendation. In fact, it was one of our goals and objectives that was later, we negated it, and that was to propose a budget for the next fiscal year that cut $150,000, or roughly 10% of our general fund revenues, out of that budget in savings, with those savings to be applied to offset the water and sewer rates. Quite honestly, that was rejected. It was even called illegal for the council to suggest $150,000 or any target for budget relief. And interestingly enough, now I'm sitting here and we're talking about water and sewer rate increases, and the same council that found it politically objectionable to suggest budget cuts are now taking the position that we don't want to increase water and sewer rates. Well, you can't do both. Something's got to give. Somehow the pump stations and the infrastructure's got to get covered. And I don't know, and we've looked at multiple things, I don't know what the other solution is other than where we're going with water and sewer rates. As Wes outlined in the last meeting, I think on Thursday, as more residents come online, those fixed costs will get spread out over more users, and it's likely that some of those rates will come down, or at least not go up anymore. So the point is, I don't know what to do other than vote to increase the rates, and none of us like that, but I don't see another option on the table that's viable.
Mr. Lamb?
I promised my wife that I would only speak once tonight, but I lied. She says I lie all the time. 5 years ago, I went into Senator McCain's office and said hi when she moved into town, and then I went and talked to a wonderful young lady who was her office person. I said, what can we do to help with these bills, because I was sending out letters to everybody that we needed money desperately. So she said we could apply. So I ran immediately to Darwin McCleary's office, and I said, Darwin, we have 2 weeks to apply for this $6.7 million grant. Mr. McCleary probably stayed up all night and filled out the application, and we got on the list for $6.7 million. Now, if you may or may not know, but 4 years later, after we've already started the projects, we got $1.75 million. Then we had a committee meeting this spring. The committee meeting was evaluating alternative methods to pay for the sewer and water. So I sat at that committee, and the administration made their presentation. They said, well, we've got the $1.75 million, and we've got the $1 million in the bank, approximately, in the water and sewer fund that we could use. Okay, and then I looked around and looked for suggestions from the rest of the members of the committee of where we could get the rest of the money. Guess what? There were no other suggestions. And you're all aware of what my suggestions always are, because I repeat myself endlessly. So the committee met, I sat on the committee, I voted to put the money towards the water and sewer fund, but there was no support, including from administration. God bless them, they don't want to raise your money. There was no support to find any alternative methods. The whole alternative methods, the funding from the federal government, right now Lisa Slotkin has put us on the list for $7 million or something. She has a list of 40 communities on her list. She's a Democrat. This is a majority Republican area. There are dozens of other applicants on the list that have lead replacement, okay? Water system. We have pumps, ours says pump station replacement, $8 million. God bless her for putting us on her list, but do you really think that they're going to dump $8 million to a Republican-dominated community area from a Democratic senator? So well, my point of this whole thing isn't to be political. My point is to say that the free money is far and few between. I have ideas, and I know what to do, okay? And what I want to do is, I know exactly where the money is coming from. I know exactly where the money is spent, and I've looked at all the figures. I don't need my administration to tell me, and I don't need the council to tell me, because I have personally educated myself on the facts at hand. And I know that there's adequate money in the village to pay the majority of those bonds if we shuffle things around properly. So until such a time as somebody besides me comes up with a different alternative, I'm going to continue to vote no on this issue. I've had enough. November's coming. I may not be here, so I'm going to dig my feet in till the very end.
Any other council comments? Any other public comments? Mr. Stephen.
In business, there is a thing called retained earnings, which is a pile of money for capital improvements and things of that nature. In municipalities, you have funds also that are set aside. And if you go back and you look at our investment strategies that we have some millions of dollars sitting in institutions earning us interest. The auditors probably wouldn't like it, but it would make some sense to me that maybe we ought to reach into that wallet and pull some of that money out to defray some of these expenses. We have, I can't remember the numbers, but it's in the millions of dollars that we have invested out there. Some of them are for operating, paying payrolls and stuff of that nature, but some of them are just sitting out there for other fund reasons. Auditors may not like it, but let's reach into the wallet and defray some of the costs. Thank you.
Number one, when do we get our next water bill? Next month? Is it going to be monthly? Is it going to be quarterly? How are we?
Next month, quarterly bill, and then when we go to bill for July, which will be you'll get that bill in August.
Oh,
so
so
it's always
severe,
like
man.
every Monday.
We got two bills right away, August and September. But the other thing is that I watch and I see, and I've sat with other committee members and everything for 2 hours or more and everything, but there is so much dissension in between this committee here that I don't even know. I mean, we should all be working together, not against each other, and this is to reduce the water bill. And I know you guys got $5 million set aside in a special fund. Why aren't we using our special funds? Why aren't we prioritizing it? We need water. I need water to get up in the morning. You need water to get up in the morning. This is water. This is number one priority. And I've been bitching about this since 2013, 2012. And I'm up here again and again and again and again, and I'm talking to somebody that's only been here for 4 years. This is frustrating. This cannot happen to this community. It's been around for too damn long. Wake up. Find out what the hell's going on. Just don't sit there and say you want it for a goddamn job. Do something. Come on, you guys, you're voted in. Do something.
I do have a question. Did we have a lease with WRC on the sewers? And do we have a certain amount of time for a lease? So we didn't. So we've known that the sewer has been dysfunctional for how many years? Does anyone know how many years we've known that it's been getting toward 10 years?
I defer to our DPW director for information.
So Wes, do you know how long that we have known that the sewers were going to be needing replacement? I can't look at you because I have to look at you.
There was a SAW grant done in 2017.
So,
where
okay.
we were informed that improvements needed to be made.
Okay, so 9 years. So in that time between 2017 and 2026, we are now scrambling and raising the prices from, say, 2025 to make up for the cost of what we knew was happening since 2017. I moved here in 2021, and I'm in the title industry, so I see that we have to hold 4 times the amount of water escrows on purchase agreements that normally call for 200. I have to tell my agents you have to hold 900 because the average bill is 700. But what kind of concerns me is that you've known since 2017 that the sewers were failing and you did nothing to address it back then, and now you're bearing the cost on us in a lump sum that many of us can't afford.
Howdy, y'all. I came in here because I saw a Facebook post about making parking paid in downtown Lake Orion, which is insane. And then I hear you talking about raising the prices.
I'll pause you. So right now, the discussion is on the water and sewer rates?
That's what I'm getting to. And so right now, I hear that you're talking about raising the price of water, which is a human right, is mind-boggling to me. I mean, look around you. You see wetlands being destroyed here and there, and you want to monitor us with flock cameras, watch everywhere we go, and you want to increase the allotment of money to the police force. If you're increasing security and increasing police funds, that means that there is funds for every single human being to be alive. Every single person needs water. How many gallons of water do you think this room has consumed today? And you want to make another human being paying a cent more for another drop of water? That is not going to go over well. If you want to, my family's bill has gone up. I cannot afford to live on my own, so I live with my family. We watch our water bill rise. It is $286 for a household of 5 people a month. And I know that that's cheap for a lot of people. And I look and I think, when will this finally hit me? When will it get to a point where it is like other people, where we physically cannot afford this? When we look at the drops of water coming out of our fucking faucets and we see this is money draining drop by drop. We have a lot of water in Michigan, but there will be a day very soon when it heats up and we lose every last drop. Do not make another human being pay more for something that we all need.
Yes, and we all get it from the same source. Why is Orion Township paying 400% less than the village? And I don't even live in the village, so I have no representation. I'm going to pay. Can I just pay what I would pay if I was getting water from Orion Township? I just want to pay 400% less, so I can grow my garden for people that want to come by and get fresh vegetables, and so I don't get priced out of our home, so we have to move. Because I want to live here. You guys, I'm a cool guy. I'm a good neighbor, guys. You get to know me, you'll know. We got to have fairness. 400% difference. Water is a human right. It is a human right. And all these people, they're all human beings. These people. And think about all the people that didn't come. I almost didn't come. I didn't even know how to behave here. I didn't know when to stand up or talk but we all need to be heard. But I don't want to be priced out of my home. And that's what's happening.
Steve Samet, 245 East Shadbolt. There is something that you can do to reduce your water bill. You can put in a second meter that is a deduct meter, and then you will not be charged for that water for your garden. That is, because right now you're paying to sewer that water, and you don't have to. Put in the second meter, a deduct meter,
I have a septic tank. I don't even pay. I don't know if I'm getting charged for sewer, but I don't even use it. I have.
Okay, but any of you who water your lawn can put in a second meter so that you're not charged for that water that's going on your lawn or your garden.
What is it?
Sharon Sedlak, 51 Crescent Avenue. It's hard to sit here and see you guys are all in an impossible position. Nobody's ever going to be completely happy. Thank you. No one's ever going to be completely happy with what gets done. Somebody's always going to get hurt. I do worry about the people that are sitting here that may lose their houses, may have to sell. But when they sell, what are they going to get? Who's going to move in?
Who wants to build condos where I live? I got an acre. I have 1 acre. You could do that.
But nobody can afford your water bill.
I know.
And even if this gentleman back here just talked about the other meter. We spend half a year out of this darn Michigan weather. And the other half, we love this darn Michigan weather. But when we leave, we shut all the water off to our house. No one is there. It's locked up. Everything's done. And my last bill for the last 3 months that were billed was almost $400.
Wow.
That's too much to start with, even if you paid all the water. That's for no water, no sewer, and I still have to pay for the service, for all of that. How can that be possible? I know that you guys all are supposed to be here for the people, and I'm sure in your minds anyway, whether I agree with you or disagree with you, you feel that you're doing the best that you can and the best for the people. But something is not coming out right. Nobody's going to want to move to Lake Orion. I'm thinking about it seriously because I hate all this stuff that's going on. The council, the damn council, I'm tired of hearing of that. Because I know you guys are volunteering your time. Well, I think you get $10 or something for coming. And I don't know how you do it. But we have to do something because these people are here. This is such a small amount of the people since we've come home and everybody's talking so much about it. You go to coffee with your friends and that's all you hear about. You go have drinks with your friends and that's all you hear about. Everybody's not happy. Most people are not happy to live here. I don't understand, back to me, if I'm going to talk about that, I do want to talk about me, why do I come home to a $400 bill when no water has come in, no water has gone out? That's unjust. And yet you say you need more. So what happened? It didn't cost you anything for the ready and all the other things that are basics. Those are my basics. And I think about it with, I have the money, I can pay it. I'm not going to be forced out of my house. But what about everybody else that is paying for nothing? If they left, their bill would still be $400? Thank you for hearing me out.
Anyone else for public comment?
Rosemary Ford, 225 North Broadway. Well, I welcome all of the people that came here tonight, and I understand their concern. We have the same concern, but I look at it this way. One is, as a council, you have spoken, and you have looked at options. You have tried things. We've tried for government grants. We've tried for money from other entities. And we don't just have water and sewer, we have a lot of issues going on right now. But one of the things you talked about with water and sewer is, okay, previous councils chose not to deal with it. And then this council said, you know what? We can't kick the can down the road. But yet, I have heard tonight from 3, if not 4, that you're going to vote no. So then, you're going to come back to, okay, then what do we do? It's not like this council hasn't tried. The administration hasn't tried. I look at it this way. These lift stations, which a lot of people say, well, and majority of the people that spoke tonight live on the lake. I think they would all agree. They want clean water. We all want clean water. And I know it's tough, but we're going to have to deal and slowly work through this because it's going to take time. If it's voted down, it's going to get worse. So it's a tough thing, but we're all going to have to look at it and say, do I want clean water? Do I want the sewers? Or do we want to go back in the day when Orion didn't even have sewers? I can remember when they put them in and I was a kid and people were in an uproar. But the lake wasn't clean. And for those of you who live on the lake, you expect good value for your home. Yes, you pay a lot in taxes, but you chose to live on the lake. And a lot of you have prime frontage. And that's the price you pay because then when you go to sell, you receive that back. And that's looking down the road. I'm just saying right now it's not easy, but I would think we would all agree that we want clean water, good working sewers. Those lift stations are connected to our main sewer. So it's not like it's a separate thing and just dealing with a lake. It's for everybody. So it's a tough thing, but if we want to make our community better, other than that, what I've been hearing is it's like we might as well shut the whole town down just so that people, and it sounds mostly like the people on the lake, but it's pretty much everybody. They don't want anything, but then we won't have anything. We're just going to be a speck on the map. So please think about it. Anybody wants to talk to me? I have been to I think I've missed one meeting out of all these meetings on the discussion of this. And it's hard, but some things you gotta do. So thank you for listening.
There's only one comment per, you can only do one comment.
Not for Tom, I just want to apologize. I don't want to make any enemies. I think there's a better way of going about human rights.
So I know this is about water and sewer, but I want you to step back a minute. Look at the Saran wrap on the windows. It's an embarrassment. So is the outside of the building. Ask your DPW head of director. All the village has all kinds of stuff that's just falling apart and dilapidating. So we're moving to try to figure out how to pay for this water and sewer, but everything else is falling apart. So I really think you're going to have to come up with a better plan. And of course, you know I want you to disincorporate. But I think you better look at that, because in 10 years, you're going to be bankrupt anyways, and everybody's going to be worse. And if you have restaurants, you'll know that their water and sewer bill is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Are you going to put them out of business because we just want to keep pushing the same old thing because we want to keep a village here? You know, the buildings don't go nowhere. The businesses won't go anywhere if we can afford to keep them here. So I really think you better, it's not just about water and sewer. So please think about that. Thank you so much.
Bill Hughes, 622 Detroit Avenue. Everything I heard tonight, I think what we need is a hybrid type plan. I can't believe I'm agreeing with you, Michael, but I think we need to look at the budget, squeak it out. Anywhere we can save money, put it towards the water, and then if we need to raise the rates, we do. But first, we need to crunch all the numbers and get as much out of it as we can. Thanks.
Just a few quick questions. I've heard multiple people here tonight say they got the exact same water bill. The likelihood of having the same gallon usage down to the household amongst multiple households doesn't happen. Statistically, just about impossible.
Right.
So are these bills actual readings? How could they all be so close? Or are we just covering rates for our expense here? I'd really like to know how so many people have the exact same number. I know I've got a neighbor who goes away for 3 months. They have the same water bill we do. Something's not adding up here on that. I guess second question is, knowing that we are now into phase 2 and 3, and then you got the grant for that, if I'm correct, right? So that's moving forward. That's not something you have an option of delaying for any period of time. But with that first phase, it's over. We talked about not funding for the future so that when this comes up again, it won't occur. So is there an account where we're already funding and planning now that we've got phase 1? It's been in a couple of years now, I believe, that first phase. Is there a fund that money's going in there for that to be addressed so that down the road is there? Or are we just perpetuating this cycle? And if we're perpetuating it, we've got to ask with everybody here. These water bills are going up or $700 a quarter, and everybody wants to be in the village, but, you know, no disrespect to anybody. Expense, 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 right? I mean, you've got all these things. So do you want to have the value of living in the village and paying those big bills, have your own police, have your own water? And if we're only just treading water here because we're not making any progress on anything, you know, I know there's a petition where people outside asking to sign. We're really going to have to take a good hard look at, do we want to keep the status quo treading water, or to keep the village alive, or do we have to look at other options that make it so it's affordable for us to continue to stay in our homes? Thank you.
Is there anyone else for public comment? So right now, we have a motion on the floor. I would, just as there was a question about planning for future, so I'd defer to Mr. Sanchez about that. You could provide some insight
Yes, we
into
do.
that.
We do currently charge depreciation into our rate. to put monies aside for future improvements.
So the motion right now on the floor is to adopt the resolution to establish the fiscal year 26-27 water and sewer fees and charges pursuant to Chapters 51 and 53 of the Village of Lake Orion Code of Ordinances. So I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Councilmember Dandelides.
Yes.
Councilmember Mosher.
No.
Councilmember Lamb.
No.
Councilmember Papachek.
No.
Pro Tem Ford.
Yes.
President Rutt.
Yes.
Councilmember Camperoni.
No.
Motion fails.
Thank you. Moving on. Moving on to item 10A, approval of MDOT Transportation Economic Development Fund, TEDF, Category B Grant Contract, Village of Lake Orion 2026 Street Improvement Project. Mr. McCleary.
Your Honor, members of council, you're being requested to adopt the resolution approving the MDOT contract, fixing the rights and obligations of the MDOT and Village of Lake Orion for the Village of Lake Orion 2026 Street Improvement Project under the contract for the Transportation Economic Development Fund Category B grant. As you're aware, we're receiving $250,000 to help fund the 2026 Street Improvement Program. And you're also being requested to authorize the village manager and clerk to execute the grant documents on behalf of the village and to designate the village manager as project manager.
Thank you. Council.
So does this...
We need a motion first. I'll make the motion to get us going to adopt the resolution approving the MDOT contract number 26-5240, fixing the rights and obligations of the Michigan Department of Transportation of the Village of Lake Orion 2026 Street Improvement Project under the contract for Transportation Economic Development Fund Category B grant, authorizing the village manager and clerk to execute the grant on behalf of the village and designating the village manager as project manager.
Support.
Mr. Dandelides.
So does this go hand in hand with the street special assessment that we talked about earlier? I think it was phase 1 of the special assessment.
There will be special assessments for a portion of the project. So the grant funding would be used first to fund the project for the grant, the original grant project. That funding, and then the village is going to contribute a portion, 25% generally for those streets, and then the remaining portion would be specially assessed against property owners over a multi-year period.
But it's inclusive of this map, right?
Yes, the red portion.
Blue roads and red roads.
Just the red. This applies only to the red portion.
Okay, so if we approve this motion, it doesn't necessarily approve the blue roads.
The blue roads were not part of the grant application.
So totally separate.
Yeah, the blue roads were added later by council.
Okay, maybe I'm not making it clear. If we approve this, it's only the red roads, the blue roads are not included. So there's not a tag-along special assessment and whatnot that goes along with utilizing this $250,000.
I'm not sure what you're asking. The $250,000 will only apply to those red roads.
No, I get that. But my question is, if we approve this, then do the blue roads go along for the ride as far as the whole project?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so we still have to approve the blue roads as a separate...
The project will be bid as two alternates. One will be the red roads, will be one portion of the bid that we go out for, and the blue roads will be a second alternate for the bids, so that they're priced separately, because we have to account for the two separately for the grant project.
But where I'm really going with my question is, so we're going to impose special assessments on the blue roads And as I recall from the public hearing on that, you know, it was the public sentiment was negative, right? So, you know, and I'm hearing folks that are concerned about, you know, getting special assessed and whatnot out of their homes. So I don't want to make a decision tonight that includes the special assessment on the blue roads.
That's not part of tonight's decision.
All right, thank you. That clears it up.
We'll go Mr. Ford and Mr. Lamb.
And Darwin, if you wouldn't mind, so residents on the red roads, once if this is approved and it's bid out, they will then get what their special assessment cost will be.
Yes, it'll be a process.
Right, and there's a public hearing on that yet, too?
Before we even go out for bid, once we have the preliminary design plans from the engineer, we will be holding a public informational meeting with those residents, with the property owners, so that they can see the designs that we've come up with and have input into the design before the final designs are prepared. And then the project will be bid out, and then we'll know what the costs are, and then we will prepare the special assessment roll based on the bid results. Also incorporating the village's contribution toward the project, we will prepare the proposed special assessment roll. Yes, that will go for a public hearing.
And then there's another public hearing
Yes.
once they get the final
Yes.
cost. Okay, thank you.
And notices will go out to each property owner, letting them know what the proposed special assessment is prior to that public hearing.
Thank you.
Mr. Lamb?
So Darwin, I was going to reiterate, so what the roads are. So the red roads are North Shore from Church to Lake Street, Flint Street from Church Street to M24, and Lake Street from the lake up to Darling Drive, and then a little section of Axford, Blair Street, and Grove Street. So this motion is to get a $250,000 MDOT grant to apply towards paving of those streets. The village manager came up with a little mini project for some reason, I'm not degrading him, and applied this grant to that section of the neighborhood. At that time I said to him, well, I don't have a street in front of my house, and my neighbor David wants me to pave the street with me and him and a couple neighbors. I said, that's insane, you know, that's not how it's done. So I asked the village manager to include the entire section of streets between Park Boulevard and the lake in our quadrant there, you know, North Shore, Hill Street, Axford, Andrew, so that we could get the streets paved if they needed to be paved before the oil prices went up, and while we could do it in one big bunch and get a better deal, because you all know when you call to get your driveway paved, it's a lot cheaper if everybody gets their driveway paved. So this motion would make sure that the MDOT money came and paid for those people in the red streets. The people in the blue streets, because MDOT has ceased this program, we will no longer be getting any free money in the future. There is no free money for you in the future. So the village, because it has so much money, its assessment policy says if you live on a dead-end street, the village will kick in 10% towards our paving project. People that live on regular streets, they pay 25%, and people that live on main streets like downtown, we live on main streets, they pay 50%, all right? So I've struggled with council because apparently all the people that want the street paved don't show up here at these meetings because they just accede to it. But the half a dozen or a dozen complainers who come here apparently are the voice of the people. So there's going to be some issues with the council isn't going to vote to pave my street. I think to punish me is a political punishment, okay? But I want to let the rest of you people on North Shore know, or any of the other people that want their streets paved, there'll be another hearing. It's called the special assessment hearing. The village manager is going to bring the cost per front feet for each of your homes to tell you whether to pave it. And then we'll have another meeting like this, and you can all come and say, we don't want our street paved. So in my book, if 51% of you show up and say, like on Clare Street, they didn't want their street paved, I'm not going to pave your street. Okay? But if the majority of you want your street paved, I will vote to pave your street. I'm going to go door to door on my street and make people sign a paper. So next time I come before this council, I have something from you, the people that don't show up, that say whether they want their street paved. The people here in this village need to speak up, one way or another, not just hear like 3 people. Tonight it's great. It's fantastic. There's so many of you here, you fill our chamber, and so that's what's going on with this vote. So I'm going to vote to take the free money that I'm not going to get any of on my street, but at least the people on part of Church Street and Flint Street and Lake Street are going to get some free government money to help pave their streets.
Other council comments? Any public comments? Oh, Mr. Porter.
Darwin, with the approving the receiving of that $250,000, and then we have a public hearing on it, and then projecting they don't want that, what happens to the $250,000? Goes back? We lose it.
If we don't complete the project as we had applied for, we will lose the funding.
This kind of goes back to my previous point. Oh, I'm sorry.
It would not make any sense.
Right.
For anybody to say they don't want their, that's on the road streets, that they don't want their street paved at this time because they have
Free
up
money.
to 50% of the project funded through grant funding.
Right. But it does go to my point earlier where we don't want to increase our water bill, but we will increase our SAD, our special assessment, to get streets paved. So there's still a balance here that a trade-off, I guess, for some people. That's all I have. Thank you.
Any public comments? Seeing none, we have a motion to adopt the resolution approving the MDOT contract. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item 10B, award of contract 2026 sidewalk improvement program, District Number 2, Italia Construction. Mr. McCleary.
Your Honor, members of council, you're scheduled to consider awarding the contract for the 2026 sidewalk improvement program, District Number 2 project, construction to Italia Construction, Inc. of Washington, Michigan. The village competitively bid the project, and Italia Construction was the low responsive and responsible bidder. Village engineer Spence has reviewed the bids and recommends the award of the contract to Italia. And our engineer is in the audience tonight if you have any questions for her.
Council? You can come up here. I'll move to approve the budget amendment BA 2027-41001 to increase the fiscal year 26-27 Fund 410 Sidewalk Improvement Fund revenues by $20,608 to increase expenditures by $20,608 to provide the necessary supplemental appropriations for the project construction contract for the 26 Sidewalk Improvement Program District Number 2 project.
Support.
Council discussion on the budget amendment? Yeah, Mr. Lamb.
Wendy,
Yes. Sorry.
you ready?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get ready for the seawall thing. Yes. What can
So we had a public hearing,
Yes.
and several residents came and complained. And then I went out and looked at every one of their complaints, and we addressed their issues in the motion. Were you guys able to address all of the people's problems with the sidewalks being not suitable?
We have not seen that list. If there is a list of residents to be removed, which has happened in the past, we will absolutely remove them. If there are things that need to be added, they can be added to the contract. I'm speaking strictly from the contracting perspective with Italia. As far as your special assessment process, we've not been involved in that, so I don't know what would have to take place for that portion of this project.
Your Honor, if I could answer that question. Wes has been working to follow up on the comments that were made when you acted on the special assessment roll. One section of sidewalk that had been previously removed, we've determined that the village needs to pay to have that flag or 2 flags of sidewalk replaced. We've addressed the other issues. There were 2 or 3 other properties that there were issues with, and Wes did follow up on those. I think we determined that those needed to continue to be on the special assessment roll, if I remember correctly. So we did follow up on those items.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other council questions? Public comments on the budget amendment? Seeing none, do I need a roll call for budget amendment? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Yes.
President Rudd?
Yes.
Councilmember Danielides?
Yes.
Councilmember Papachek?
Yes.
Pro Tem Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosher?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And I'll make motion number 2 to award the contract for construction of the Village of Lake Orion 26 Sidewalk Improvement Program, District Number 2 project to Italia Construction, Inc. of Washington, Michigan, in the amount of $43,411.93 in accordance with the firm's bid proposal dated May 28, 2026, and authorize the village manager to execute all necessary documents related to this contract award.
Support.
This is not the same firm that we used last year, correct? No. Okay, just double checking and making sure on that. And then Darwin, could you tell us what's the timeline moving forward for here if this contract is awarded?
Well, those details would be ironed out during the pre-construction meeting that we have with them, but we anticipate that this work, we try to have the work done before fall when school starts back up. So that would be our target.
Okay.
Whether we would be able to accomplish that or not is something we'd have to work with the contractor on.
Okay.
Yes, you have to, get the contract signed by both sides, get them started. I do not have an answer from them on the topic of schedule. That was not something that was asked.
Thanks. Any other council questions, comments on the awarding of the contract? Any public comments? Roll call, please.
President Rudd?
Yes.
Councilmember Danielides?
Yes.
Councilmember Papachek?
Yes.
Pro Tem Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosher?
Yes.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 10C, acceptance of engineering proposals for Oak Lane and Flint Street seawall repairs, NFE. Mr. McCleary.
Your Honor, members of council, you're scheduled to consider accepting the proposals from the village's engineering consultants, Nowak and Kraus, to complete the design and construction engineering for seawall repairs on Oak Lane and Flint Street. The seawalls are failing and are in need of immediate repair or replacement. The Oak Lane seawall is located adjacent to one of the village's sanitary sewer pump stations, and a failure of the seawall could result in damage to the pump station. The Oak Lane project does not need a topographic survey, but the Flint Street project will require one. I provided you with a copy of the proposals from Nowak and Kraus, and our engineer is here to answer any questions you may have regarding the proposals.
Thank you. Council.
My copy says Bridge Street. Did we finish Bridge Street?
Bridge Street is not yet complete. That was a project that was constructed without a permit, and an after-the-fact permit will be required. We have done preliminary work with Eagle to get their approval for the methodology. We know exactly what needs to be done there. And so we had put a proposal out to the village roughly 15 months ago and received the go-ahead. So we've done that work, the majority of that work. Basically what's going on with Bridge Street, there was a failure in 2016. It was reconstructed in 2022. But without it having been permitted by Eagle, the village received a violation notice, and we worked with Eagle to get an acceptable solution to that, which essentially is installing riprap rock, a rock blanket in the water along the length of the wall that was installed in 2022. So we know what they will require, and we have a rough cost estimate for that. The design work is done. We need to put together bid documents and inspect it, and then apply for the after-the-fact permit.
So you're going to have to put in big stone at the bottom of the seawall so the critters can live in it?
Yes.
That's the new standard, correct?
That's the new standard everywhere.
So the reason I brought it up, I met with Mr. Smith, who lives at the end of Bridge Street, and he was deeply involved in the project, being most affected resident. And at the end of his driveway, that's the street there, he owns the house at the very end, and then right at his property line, the contractor removed half of the asphalt pavement in the road. And so there is approximately a 10-foot wide stretch of asphalt from his concrete connecting to Bridge Street, and then there's a section that's filled in with gravel. And he was asking, he said that the contractor had removed the pavement and installed one of the drain pipes. And then, so this would be an appropriate time, since you're talking about finalizing the project, and I had put the question to the DPW, and they said the project was still open.
I suspect I will need to verify. I myself did not work on this particular project. Carol Thurber worked with Eagle on the violation, and my recollection, and if I'm speaking out of turn, I apologize, my recollection is that gravel area was actually one of the best management practices that was required as sort of an infiltrative surface prior to runoff into the lake. That needs to be verified. If the gravel surface is not a requirement, perhaps...
Well, there was a huge gravel, no, there is a huge gravel parking area adjacent to the seawall, but I'm talking in the actual lane of the existing pavement, the 20-foot wide asphalt that is there. It's in very poor condition, but half of it's missing.
Oh.
And it's kind of like the sidewalk on Atwater. It was filled in with gravel and then lost in time because it's not a really...
The contractor didn't pave it? Again, I'm speaking because I don't recall.
I would have to defer to staff. I just wanted to bring the issue forward.
I will look into it and we will see what can be done.
Thank you very much. Mr. Smith thanks you.
So the other two seawalls in question are Bridge Street, we went through that. Oak Lane, this is at the end of the peninsula near pump station number 10. This actually is from 2025 when there was a very heavy storm. You may remember it. In the night, the residents actually heard the dead men snapping. And in the morning, this was what they saw. The seawall is tilting outward. It has proceeded past that. It is even further tipping outward. The work at that pump station has essentially been completed. I know that they were doing lawn restoration last month, but the work on the seawalls has not been done. We looked into getting a contractor. We tried to get responses from contractors a year ago when this first took place, and there was no response. And that, in part, I believe, was because it was a single item, very short, 48 feet. We're looking at this being a package of 3 seawalls, which is more attractive to a contractor. But this is the situation there, and we, again, have worked with Eagle and have received a permit for what to do, which is essentially place a new seawall in the right-of-way all along the front of the existing seawall where it has failed, tie back through that, and again, put in riprap stone at the base of the wall. And then the third, the status of that, we have an estimated construction cost of $62,300. Some of that having to do with the fact that you have a very steep slope down to it, and you have a relatively steep lake slope as well. Part of the proposed improvements there is going to include some rerouting of runoff down Oak Lane. Currently, the resident who lives at the end of the street, when there is a heavy downfall, he puts a board across the road to direct the runoff away from the seawall into the more northerly end of that, basically to this property here, which I believe is also his, just to direct it away from the seawall. So part of the improvements will be revising the pavement to produce a swale and a methodology to redirect runoff. And then the third situation, which is recent, we have not had involvement with it prior, unlike these other two. We've had a field walk with representatives of the Eagle, but essentially you've got a similar situation at the end of Flint Street with tiebacks washing out, the wall being undermined. This is a situation where the best management practice for this area is actually going to be just to remove that seawall, there's a lot involved in that. The replacement would be to install coir logs, the coconut fiber logs that can be staked in place. They remain in place. Vegetation grows through them. So you create a naturalized lake shore that is then self-sustaining. And then it does require stone riprap as well, and we have to do a little tie-in. Both sides of the village-owned seawall abut or tie into neighboring seawalls, and we can't leave them hanging. So there's a little work at the end of each of those. This is a project where we have no topographic information. It's basically starting from the beginning. Topographic survey, design plans, permit plans, bid, and construction. Yes.
With the recent property inventory survey issues in the village, I've had to readdress several of my studies from the past. Is this style of seawall able to sustain wake boat?
The coir logs?
Yes.
Coir logs? Yes, I believe that they are. We will absolutely verify that. But that is the state of practice, that is the best practice put forward by Eagle, and they are aware that this is a lake with boat usage. But we will absolutely verify the wake boat situation.
And then the major question I have is for administration. Since you're going to take on a project of large scale, this is considered a road end, this area. People call it the Flint Street Park, but unfortunately, my research has determined that it's illegal for us to use any of the road ends as public parks and to advertise and support or otherwise encourage people to use these areas other than as an access to gain the water. So I'm not sure, and last time I spoke for one of the neighbors, he yelled at me, so I'm not going to name any names. But we have, I'm aware that the Clare Street residents feel that their street dead end should not be a park, and they opposed any improvements to it to make it look like a park. And I would encourage the village to take advantage of this opportunity to remove all the park fixtures and benches and parking from this area in order that the residents may enjoy their private area, and that the residents that choose to go down there and climb in their kayak can just go down there. But it says in the state law that I read that the fishing and the sitting and the hanging out and the barbecuing is illegal. So as I say, here in the village of Small, if you want to look into that, that would be great. But as long as we're going to address these projects, let's get them off the table, get the residents taken care of, and then they'll stop calling me, and I will be happier.
Just as a few years ago when I was on the Parks Committee, we had an attorney opinion regarding those street ends and their usage and stuff. So I'm sure it's still on record somewhere.
Yes.
That, the village attorney opined based on state law what we were and were not allowed to do on it.
It was Mr. Young's administration, right?
Yes, I believe so. Mr. Nadeau-Levis and then Mr. Patrick.
So my first question is, does that give administration the direction to go back and look at that, or find that attorney's opinion and make it available? Because I would prefer to have an attorney's opinion that would support the the interpretation of any one of us. So I hope that's what we're saying, is we're going to find that attorney's opinion. And if we can't find that, then I would suggest we ask our current attorney to give us an opinion.
I have seen the opinion, so I know that it exists, and I can't recall if it says exactly what Councilmember Lamb
Right, so I'd just like to see,
indicated, but
I'd
we'll
like to see
provide
an
a
attorney.
copy to council.
Yeah, I'd just like to see an attorney's opinion. That would be great. Thank you. So my concern with this one, I understand we need to take care of the seawalls. My concern is that we have been working on this for a year. We just completed our budget process, and none of this is reflected in our current budget. And so now we're asking for a budget amendment which covers only 2 of the 3 and engineering only. This project is estimated at $192,298.50, which is 12% of our general fund revenues for the year. I would suggest that that is significant, and it should be reflected in our budget. And so my request would be that we can make these budget amendments, but I'd like to see a budget amendment that includes the total engineering and the total construction, so that we know where those funds are going to come from. I am not an advocate of piecemealing this together, and I'm not an advocate of something that we know about not being reflected in our budget. So I think our budget should be updated. If it impacts the CIP, I think that needs to be updated. But I think to have these things hanging out there and and they're known quantities, right? So I'd like to see them in our budget and in our CIP.
Well, Madam Chair, the engineering costs are now a known quantity. We don't know exactly what the cost of the actual work is going to be. That would be something that we would know after we bid out the project. We have estimates, but I can tell you where the money's coming from. General fund reserves. That's where it's coming from, and we have monies available in general fund reserves to cover these projects. Once I received the letter from the engineers at the end of May, I did plug these projects into the capital improvement plan with the estimates for the costs of construction. And once we have our work session on the CIP, you will see that in the capital improvement plan. Once we have actual bids and those come back to you, that's when we'll do the necessary budget amendments to incorporate it into the budget. But the funds will be coming from general fund reserves.
And I understand that, and my only comment is that we know these funds are going to be expended. We know it's going to be in this fiscal year. So when I looked at the account number that we're transferring this $32,800, it had a $10,000 placeholder in it. Well, in my way of budgeting, we would have not a $10,000 placeholder, we would have a placeholder of that $10,000 plus what we estimate the engineering to be, right? So it would reflect that total. And we know that the construction is not going to be zero, so we should have a placeholder in the budget because we know we're going to make these expenditures this year. So the budget, in my mind, ought to reflect those estimates. And then once we have a bid, then we can change that with a budget amendment. But to go in with a budget that we just approved in April and it doesn't reflect any of this, I don't get that.
Well, if we do budget amendments now, then we've got to do budget amendments again. And I'd rather do them
They're easy.
One
more sheet of paper.
I'd rather do them once when we know what the actual numbers are. Let's do them right the first time. We know that we've got $194,000, I believe it is, in costs for these projects. We've got about $1.3 million in our general fund balance. So we know where the funds are coming from. I would prefer to do the budget amendments once rather than twice or multiple times. But we know that the funds are coming from the general fund balance.
And I would argue that as we sit in here and try and answer questions about water and sewer rates and where a dollar's coming from, our budget ought to reflect what we really think we're going to be spending. It shouldn't reflect nothing and then dollars coming out of a fund balance.
That's what the capital improvement plan is for. The capital improvement plan shows the full costs. And it shows where those monies are coming from. They're allocated to the general fund.
Mr. Papchak?
Yeah, just a couple of questions, just because I've been in the last week by the Oak Lane and the Flint Street end, and yeah, it's a little dangerous, a little bit of a hazard there. And my understanding is that getting ahead and doing preventative maintenance is probably almost always less expensive than waiting for a failure to occur. So where I'm going is, and maybe this already exists, but is there, a couple of questions, are there other seawalls in similar condition? And is there an inspection cycle? I don't know if they're all kind of looked at every third year, every year, just, because if I've seen an increase in the wake boats and, just trying to get ahead of this, what can we do for preventative maintenance and inspection cycles there?
There is another seawall that I had pointed out to council last year that needs to be repaired at some point in the near future, and that is a portion of the seawall in Greens Park. It is not as critical as these other repairs, but it is something that will have to be done in the near future, and it's on the engineer's radar to cost that out. I don't yet have those figures, but that is another one that we've identified.
Okay. Are they brought to us just by residents noticing it, or is there some kind of inspection, every couple years to?
We have not done comprehensive inspections of the seawalls, but part of that issue is because we haven't known all of the properties that we own, and that's part of what we're involved in right now with the village property inventory.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Ford?
I don't believe we have a motion yet. So I will do the recommended motion number 1 to approve budget amendment number BA 2027-101-88001 to increase the appropriation to account number 101-880-806-000 by $32,800 from $10,000 to $42,800 to provide the necessary supplemental appropriation for engineering services related to the Oak Lane and Flint Street seawall repairs.
Support. Any other council comments, questions? I see one. I see a public comment question. No? Oh. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosher?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Pro Tem Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Papachak?
Yes.
President Rutt?
Yes.
Councilmember Danielides?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I'll make motion number 2 to accept the proposal from Nowak and Frous Engineers, proposal number P 2026-020, dated May 29, 2026, to complete the design, bidding, and construction engineering services for the Oak Lane seawall without the optional topographic survey in the amount of $12,400, and authorize the village manager to execute all necessary documents on behalf of the village relating to this proposal acceptance.
Support.
Questions, further questions, comments from the public? Roll call.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Yes.
President Rutt?
Yes.
Councilmember Danielides?
Yes.
Councilmember Papachak?
Yes.
Pro Tem Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosher?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And then motion number 3, I move to accept the proposal from Nowak and Frous Engineers, proposal number P 2026-021, dated May 29, 2026, to complete the design, bidding, and construction engineering services for the Flint Street failing seawall in the total amount of $20,400, and authorize the village manager to execute all necessary documents on behalf of the village relating to this proposal acceptance.
Support.
Comments, questions? Roll call, please.
Pro Tem Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Papachak?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosher?
Yes.
President Root?
Yes.
Councilmember Danielides?
Yes.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 10D, preliminary PUD plan review, lumberyard at Paint Creek Development, 215 South Broadway. Mr. McCleary.
Your Honor, members of council, you are scheduled to consider approving the preliminary PUD for the lumberyard at Paint Creek project located at 215 South Broadway within the village. The applicant is requesting preliminary plan approval based on the planned unit development provisions of the village zoning ordinance. The council's quite familiar with the project. On March 23rd, the village council determined that the project was eligible for PUD status. The planning commission has, at their June 1st meeting, has recommended approval with conditions of the PUD preliminary plans.
Thank you. I'll make the recommended motion to approve the PUD preliminary plans for the lumberyard at Paint Creek Development Project, property located at 215 South Broadway, as recommended by the Lake Orion Planning Commission on June 1st, 2026, with the following conditions. 1, all required approvals must be obtained, including but not limited to those from the village engineer, the Department of Public Works, the Township Fire Department, the Township Building Department, and any other applicable local or state agencies as required during the PUD process. And 2, the applicant will be permitted to provide survey and development plans with a scale of 1 inch equals 40 feet.
Support.
Council, yeah, Mr. Lamb.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to table approval of anything on the PUD project or lumberyard until such a time as the council completes their determination how they're going to pay for the sewer and water project.
There is no support. The motion does not continue. Mr. McClary, do you know if the plan has, if the applicant has worked, to what extent the applicant has worked with the engineer, DPW, fire department, building department, et cetera, on this? Or is that just when they make a final submittal?
Those questions I cannot
Okay.
answer for you. I'm not involved in that level of the project.
Okay, that would come with a final submittal for the PUD
Yes,
plan?
all of those entities would be providing final reports as part of the final approval.
Thank you. Mr. Danielides.
The recommended motion lists conditions, and the one condition that I didn't see was sufficiency on the McKenna document dated June 1st, and there are quite a few things there that were noted. And my question is that normal? The items that are in the McKenna, the preliminary plan review?
What page are you on, George? Do you have a page on the back of the page?
I am on 191, 192.
Okay, there's 100, 190, 192.
And so I made copies of the original packet.
195 on your online
Yeah, I
packet.
don't know if it changed.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I'm assuming that these will all be worked out through the process, but I just wanted to verify that.
Yeah, council member, the only thing I can tell you is the motion that you are making is based on the motion that was adopted by the planning commission. So they did not put any other conditions in their motion. Actually, if I remember correctly, I think it was President Rutt who had actually amended the planning commission's motion to add one of the conditions. Those were the only conditions that were adopted by the planning commission.
Other council questions or comments?
No, I have one more comment.
Yeah, Mr. Lamb.
As I previously said before to the Mr. Gibb and to the DDA board and the council, this project just proceeds along without any cost estimate, funding mechanism, concrete plans, or any other purpose designated in any of the state laws. And the council and staff continue to just let it roll forward and let them just spend money freely doing whatever they want there. and the project has devolved from what was supposed to be a mixed-use to development into a mixed-use public space for which I can gather there is no way will ever produce adequate income to even support itself. And unfortunately, management, meaning the village council and the village manager, does not have jurisdiction over the DDA and refuses to exert any control or influence over them whatsoever, despite what I consider a total misuse of public funds and an obvious and purposeful attempt to obfuscate, bypass laws, bypass local building codes to come up with a gravel parking lot with 4 barns in it that you can stop and fill your bike tires for $5.5 million. Thank you. Excuse myself.
Your Honor, if I could respond to that comment, I appreciate.
You should do something.
I appreciate the concerns that were just expressed. However, there's a reason that we have a Downtown Development Authority Board of Directors. The village created the Downtown Development Authority back in 1985. There is a state statute, Act 57 of 2018, that governs how DDAs operate. What the authority is of the village council in relation to the Downtown Development Authority. The village manager has virtually no authority over the DDA except to review their budget and make my recommendations to council on the proposed budget. That's the only involvement that the village manager has with the DDA. The council, back in 2022, the end of 2022, authorized the village to lend its full faith and credit for the issuance of bonds for this project. That bond issue went through. The DDA had $5 million to work with, give or take about $60,000 in bond costs, to do this project. So the DDA has funding for the project. Whether they can do everything that they have outlined in their PUD application is a decision that the DDA board and their executive director have to make decisions on. But that's not something either one of us can address. We simply do not have that authority to micromanage the project. I do appreciate the concerns, but so far our concern is making sure that as the DDA is going through this project, that they're complying with all of our local ordinances and other laws that we enforce, and I have no indication otherwise.
Thank you. My comments, so at the Planning Commission, this passed 7-1 as well, this preliminary plan. And we wouldn't be, well, I appreciate because we are intertwined, the DDA is an integral part of this village. There tends to be a lot more scrutiny on the finances of it. But in this step of the process, if a developer came to us asking for their PUD preliminary approval, we're not going to question all their finances because that's not the job or the role at this, for this council to do that with whoever is bringing the plan before us. Our task is to go through, as the Planning Commission did, to look at their project. So we awarded the eligibility for PUD, and now it's to look at the preliminary plans to see, is it meeting the criteria? Does it have what is required of them legally? Are they following the proper process? And that's why the conditions are in this motion, because they need to get approvals from the engineers, the DPW, the fire department, the building department. And so that's the job before us today, is to go through and look at that. I understand concerns about funding, but that's not what's in this motion. That's not what this task is for this step in this process. And as our manager stated, the DDA has an executive director and a board that oversees that process and the management of the funds that are under the DDA purview. and that's not for us to determine. So that is why I support this motion to move this plan forward as the DDA continues to work on this in its legal process with all the approvals needed of any other developer that would come before us for any other project in the village. Is there any public comments, questions? Seeing none, I'll ask for a roll call, please.
Pro Tem Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
No.
Councilmember Mosher?
No.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Yes.
President Rutt?
Yes.
Councilmember Danielidis?
Yes.
Councilmember Papachek?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 10E, approval of fiscal year 2026-27 DDA services contracts, police and public works. Mr. McCleary.
Your Honor, members of council, council is scheduled to consider approving the contracts for services between the Lake Orion Downtown Development Authority and the village for police and public works services. The proposed contracts are the result of cooperative negotiations between the police chief and public works director and the DDA. The DDA Board of Directors approved the contracts at its meeting held on June 16th, and we recommend approval by council.
Thank you. Council.
Just to be clear, how much of the police millage does the DDA capture?
If I remember correctly, about $270,000.
Okay, so they, all right, so they, yeah. So they capture $270,000 of your police millage, and now they're going to pay us $106,000 back for special policing services downtown because they need extra police downtown. That's the reason for the contract, correct?
The chief can answer more on that, but they do receive special law enforcement services for the money that they pay.
So we're still out to $260,000 a year for the police millage that they get, correct? I'm just wanting facts. I'm not looking to make a cause of this. They take $260,000 of our police millage, they spend it on whatever they want to, and then they hire us for $106,000 to provide services.
They capture a portion of the police.
Yeah, I always like to verify the facts so that people know where their taxes are going. I mean, that's all. So the money shuffles around and around, but I never seem to get a lot of it on this side of the table. Always on that side of the table. Thank you. Only question I have.
Well, I'll make the motion to approve fiscal year 26-27 enhanced public safety services agreement between the Lake Orion Downtown Development Authority and the Village of Lake Orion in the total amount of $106,090 and authorize the village manager to execute the agreement on behalf of the village.
Support.
And then I did want to, if you look in the contract, just so everybody knows what the enhanced services means, since we're talking about them, it includes routine foot and vehicle patrols focused on high-traffic DDA areas during peak hours, particularly evenings and weekends, focus visibility in pedestrian-heavy zones to deter nuisance behavior, address quality of life concerns, provide a sense of safety for visitors, patrons, business owners, proactive outreach and routine contact with business owners, managers, and employees, after-hours doors checks and perimeter walkthroughs to ensure business premises are secure, parking enforcement related to on-street and public lot parking to deter and address overnight parking violations, additional patrol coverage during post-event periods to address elevated activity in bars, restaurants, and pedestrian areas following parades, festivals, carnivals, or other events, monitoring for disorderly conduct, public intoxication, traffic safety, and crowd management after special events conclude, documentation and referral to code enforcement of observed ordinance violations related to signage, property maintenance, or other infractions, and participation in meetings with DDA and village staff to report trends, address recurring issues, and align safety initiatives with community priorities. So they also, the village and DDA jointly fund a full-time code enforcement officer as a part of that as well. And there are some other bullet points in there, but wanted to, since we're talking about what those enhanced services are, read those out for you. Other questions, comments?
Yeah, this one.
Yes, Mr. Lamb.
Just, Darwin, I'd like to clarify one more time. So the DDA captures $260,000 of our tax money, purse to the TIF. And then they use that money to buy police services from us for special purposes.
Yes.
Okay. I don't get it. Okay? I don't get it. So I just want to thank you. I don't get it.
Public comments.
Good evening, Matthew Gibb, 118 North Broadway, DDA Director. That's through the chair. What the village manager has asserted as a fact is untrue. I mean, it's just interpretation. I could write a fiction novel and sell it as well. Presently, there's a historic value of capture that happens within the tax increment finance district where an effort is made to continue to support public safety. It's not made up services. The chief wouldn't say, well, if this contract doesn't happen, then none of that happens. It all still happens. It's a way for the DDA to contribute. I would remind the council, DDA this year is going to give back to the village $907,000 at a minimum. That will probably escalate with all of the extra fees that happen, including all of the streetlights and all of the garbage and everything else that the DDA incurs. So I'm expecting that will probably go closer to $930,000 to $950,000 this year out of a $1.2 million budget that will go directly back to all of you. I don't know how much more we can do. I guess we can sit and take the insults and the degrading comments and all of that. I suppose that's what certain members of council want. We're big, we can take it. But we want this contract with the chief. He's done a phenomenal job. We want this contract with Mr. Sanchez. His group's done a phenomenal job. We work extremely well collaboratively. Code enforcement has really never been better in this town than it has in the last 18 months. If the council decides that they don't want the contract, they don't want the contract.
Since I'm new to the whole, what Councilman Lamb was saying, if they take $270,000 and give us back 110, what is the use for that other $100,000? Does the DDA just keep that, or where does that money go?
The money they capture goes to the DDA budget that then they allocate to different different services and.
Okay, so they don't have to use it for police services? Right. So they can take police money and use it for whatever and pay us back that one portion that they pay for our special services?
You got it.
Right? So they get $100,000 to do whatever they want out of our police millage?
I mean, they're bound by the laws of the DDA and what they
right, but I mean, they get that $100,000 to do whatever is legally allowed. They don't have to use it. So we're paying for police millage, and then they can use that money for whatever they want within the confines of the law.
I would encourage you to look at the DDA budget too to see where those monies go. Yes.
Okay, that's what I wanted to understand. Thank you.
She gets it.
Howdy, quick question. I am more so curious, like I want to have like an open dialogue because I'm new to this. Like, what would that money be going towards? Everything that you explained, like why would we want more of a presence there when there's already like the fire station right there? I already see cops around all the time, and so it's like, do you want to keep people away? Like, to me, more police presence. It's like, I've never seen downtown rowdy once. I've lived here over a decade. I've never seen it like crazy where it needs to be like a highly surveilled state where a lot of people are like, never see it too crazy. I don't know about y'all. I'm just more so curious. Like, I want to hear from people before it's just like passed on.
Yeah, I would probably direct those questions to the chief. He puts out a monthly report on police activities and everything, and he would be able to answer questions about the different things that happen within the village and the DDA district. It may be a little bit outside the scope of this particular motion to have a thorough discussion, but if you wanted to make any brief comments.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to have a specific sit-down conversation, I mean, I'm here Monday through Friday, we'll have it, we'll come.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm open.
My bad, y'all. I don't mean to take up time.
No, it's just
you are totally valid questions.
I just have a question on where we can find the DDA budget, because I have gone on the Village of Lake Orion's website and it is nowhere to be found. I go onto the Downtown Development Authority area and it just says, here's what it is, here's the laws that pertain to the Downtown Development Authority, but I cannot find the budget. Where would I go to find
Yeah,
it?
downtownlakeorion.org. I would defer, it's up there, correct, Mr. Gibb?
It's on your website through the budget of the village manager.
Okay. So if you have trouble finding it, you can contact our village administration. They can direct you where to go.
All right, thank you.
Just for clarification, the village budget doesn't include the DDA funds because the DDA funds are not part of the village budget. We include those during our budget work sessions for information purposes for the council because you need to give approval before the DDA adopts their budget, but it's not part of the village budget. So I would ask that anybody interested in the DDA budget refer to either the DDA website or talk to the DDA executive director.
I just went on, just for information purposes, went on the DDA website, and under the About Us reporting and FOIA, there is a link to the budget, the 2024-25 completed budget that is housed on the village website. So if you go there, you can find that completed budget. Any other public questions? So we have a motion on the floor to approve the contract between the Enhanced Public Safety Services Agreement between the Lake Orion DDA and the Village of Lake Orion. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Yes.
President Rutt?
Yes.
Councilmember Danielides?
Yes.
Pro Tem Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
No.
Councilmember Mosher?
No.
Councilmember Papachak?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. Ford.
Make the motion number 2 to approve the fiscal year 2026-27 Public Works Services intergovernmental agreement between the Lake Orion Downtown Development Authority and the Village of Lake Orion in the amount of $29,000 and authorize the village manager and public works director to execute the agreement on behalf of the village.
Support. Questions, comments? Public questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Mosher?
No.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Yes.
President Rutt?
Yes.
Councilmember Papachak?
Yes.
Pro Tem Ford?
Yes.
Councilmember Lamb?
No.
Councilmember Danielides?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Item 10F would be the dissolution consolidation objective 1.2. Mr. Danielides.
In our 2026 Objective 1.2 was approved by council to form a committee to investigate and report on the village township consolidation. This was to have included, based on the discussions around that through our work sessions, obtain the opinion of the village attorney on the process for consolidation, investigate pros and cons of consolidation, and report back to council. The committee was formed, was approved on April 27th at a regular meeting. Per the discussion at that meeting, council felt it beneficial to include 2 residents. The applications were taken by the village clerk, and 2 residents were selected at council's meeting on May 11th. The subcommittee met with the exclusion of the 2 village residents on May 18th and concluded with a recommendation to take no action. Although none of the objectives of the subcommittee were met, the recommendation was taken to council by the subcommittee at the May 26, 2026 regular council meeting, where the recommendation to take no action was approved by council. This was met by strong resident dissent, but approved by council regardless. On Monday, June 15th, I received an email from one of the council subcommittee members that was forwarded to me by one of the resident subcommittee members. The subject line of that email read, "Need some facts. Here's what I have so far." The email included 2 attachments titled, "What we would change if we disincorporated the village," and Lake Orion Unification Facts and Figures. And I've given you copies of that. Further, on Wednesday, June 17th, the Orion Review printed an article titled, "Village Resident Starts Petition to Disincorporate the Village of Lake Orion." This article inaccurately provided details of the process as defined by General Law, Village Act 3 of 1895, MCL 18A through 23I. Since the objectives of the subcommittee were not met, we did not get process definition from the village attorney nor investigate pros and cons for the consolidation, and there appears to still be an interest with at least some of the subcommittee members to continue the work outside of the subcommittee. I'd like to discuss perhaps reinstating the subcommittee so that we can have a unified set of pros and cons and a unified understanding of the process. So I'd like to open that up to discussion to reinstate the subcommittee.
You. Council. Mr. Camperoni?
I got no desire to form another committee, and as far as I'm concerned, anybody who wants to get rid of the village can go somewhere else. Just be done with it, you know? So for me, this has already been lived out and done, as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, I've been in contact with Rob, who's leading, he's got a petition drive to disincorporate the village, and I supplied him with some information. And like all you citizens, if you want any facts or figures on just about anything with the village, I'll do my best to give them to you. And I think that the citizens have decided that they want to circulate a petition to disincorporate, which means to combine the township with the village. I'm willing to wait to receive the results of that petition since it's the people speaking to me, not me speaking to the people. And at that time, when that petition comes to us and a number of you people tell me that you are interested in combining with the township, at that time I'd be happy, if that's the desire of the council, to form a disincorporation commission under state law and discuss every aspect of the pros and cons of combining the village with the township. It is my personal opinion that consolidation of the sewer and water with the township won't save the average citizen much money at all because those costs are so fixed. The only true savings to the village is always firing people. That's what I keep telling you. If you want to save money, we have to fire people, or we have to consolidate. Okay? So I've heard from the council members, okay, we need to eliminate duplication of services. Well, I hate looking at you guys, okay, because that's always what it comes to. It becomes personal. We have 2,900 people here, and I know a lot of them, and I work daily with the staff. So it's always an issue of firing people. But our job is to do what's best for the community. So if you guys bring me a petition that says you want to combine with the township, I will act under state law and consider every single aspect of it, and I will vote to form the committee that the previous committee decided was the state law. So our little committee with the management, I'm sorry that the citizens were out of town, and I'm sorry that the village manager pushed the issue because he felt it needed to be addressed immediately because staff members were quitting and staff member people were not taking applications to join the police force because the question of disincorporation has arisen. So I decided it was important that it move forward as fast as possible so that they didn't start quitting. Okay, tonight we got the notice that the DPW director has resigned. The DPW foreman has resigned. So your streets and stuff are now going to be maintained by 3 construction laborers and the village manager. I inquired with him today whether he knew how to use the shovel. He assured me that his father had trained him well. That was to make you not cry, Darwin. So that's my opinion on forming another committee.
Your Honor, if I could make a comment.
Yes.
Because I was on the committee. And the comment has now come up several times that the committee didn't do its work. But I want to read the motion that was made when the committee was created. And the motion was made by Councilmember Dandelides. The motion was, it was actually an amended motion, but the motion was to establish a council subcommittee to investigate and report on village township consolidation by June 30th in support of 2026-27 Village Council Objective 1.3. The subcommittee would include 3 council members, the village manager, and 2 village residents. That was the motion. The committee was not charged with looking at shared services or anything like that. The committee was formed to discuss village township consolidation. The committee determined that it wasn't appropriate for the council to get involved at this time. There had been no petition submitted by the citizens to disincorporate. And the committee determined there was no action for the committee to take, or the committee's recommendation should be back to the council, that there is no action for the council to take at this time. If there was some other intent that was inferred for the committee, it wasn't clear in the motion. There was discussion on surrounding the creation of the committee, but whatever discussion took place did not end up being in the motion. So the committee acted on what the motion was. I do take exception to the village manager pushing it through at that committee meeting. Actually, the village manager said, should we be concerned about the 2 residents not being here? And should we hold a subsequent meeting to allow them an opportunity? The committee unanimously decided, no, we need to move forward and get our recommendation back to council. Because we had a timeline for submitting that recommendation, Councilmember Dandelides set that deadline of June 30th. But the last meeting of the council, I believe, was June 21st. So we had to have a recommendation back to council the week before for it to be on the council agenda for June 21st. We were on a tight deadline. It just so happened that the 2 resident members of the committee were out of town, and I'm not entirely sure why we didn't select someone else, other residents, to serve on the committee if they weren't available to serve, but that's not my decision, it's council's. We did our job. Now, if there was something else that the committee should have done, that should have been clearly indicated in the motion that Councilmember Dandelides made in creating the committee. We did our job. And I hope that we do not hear again that the committee did not do its job, because this is getting irritating.
Mr. Papchak.
Yeah, I mean, I share some of that sentiment. I was on the committee. What I got out of it was a pretty clear understanding of the process, how it works, the timing, when a petition would need to come forward. And I think we landed at a pretty good place. And in my understanding, we looked at the law. I think the options are clear and what we can and can't do at this point. I think the time will come, if and when a petition comes forward, that the in-depth analysis and commissions will be formed to go into this. So from my personal perspective, I don't feel a need to revisit what the committee already concluded. There were multiple people there, and we all kind of agreed we landed at the right place. I will agree that I did find the article in the Orion Review confusing. It wasn't consistent with my interpretation of what we'd found. I thought some of the wording at the end wasn't quite right or very clear, but that's not my place to look at that article. So if there were to be another committee, I wouldn't feel the need to be on it. I feel like we landed in a good place. I understand the process, and I think where we want to go will happen potentially in a month if a petition does come forward, and that would be the appropriate time.
Mr. Ford.
I think part of that committee, when we look at what is being asked here, obtaining the opinion of village attorney, so the part of the committee's discussion was the law is clear as to what the process is. So I don't know that we would need a village attorney opinion on that. Investigate the pros and cons of consolidation. We would be investigating it just on our end, because I don't see what incentive the township would have to sit down with us to go through this process of pros and cons. We would need their input on that. But what incentive do they have? At that point, there was no petition. And even if they did, and we talked about things, they're not legally bound to follow through with that. They wouldn't need to be legally bound. And the process, as stated by law, is a negotiated process between us and the township after the petitions were completed. There's no obligation then to stick with anything they say if we were to meet with them ahead of time. Now, there's a part of me that wants them to know what that would be and what it would cost us. What would we lose? What would we gain? Because I'm not sure that the petitions that are going around are accurate in what they say, as far as what we would gain by dissolution. But on the same token, the township is not obligated. They could sit down with us tomorrow and say this will happen, that will happen, but they're not legally obligated to do it until we go through the legal process. Thank you.
I think I'm having a hard time. So I wasn't at the meeting where the original motion was made to ask clarifying questions about the intent of everything. Respectfully, I don't think I buy the whole time crunch because we've had committees before that we've extended them. Hey, the committee needs more time. We have until July 30th. That's not a hard thing to do if the residents aren't available, to come back and say the committee needs more time, because we invited residents to be a part of it. They came down, they applied for it, and then they were left out of the process. So that, to me, is the biggest rub in all of this. Like, we have a time crunch, but it's a time crunch that was self-imposed by the council that could be changed by the council. And so to try to move that through without taking the residents into consideration is one of the big pieces that's really hard for me in this, even if the conclusion was the same thing. I think the other thing, as I look at what was passed out to us that feels hard, again, every council person also has a right to their own personal opinion and interacting with the public as a resident, but it does still feel hard to me that there are, on these emails, 2 council members that were part of that committee, plus a resident that was part of that committee, sharing further information. So clearly there is interest in this and sharing information that is being, and it's not just like, oh, here's an article from the state, it's some, here's opinions on what I think would happen. Here are numbers that somebody, I don't know who, but somebody put together. And that feels a little bit hard to me that this is happening when there was a committee that was formed. Again, I wasn't part of the initial motion to make sure there's some clarity around it, but that it sounds like the intent for some of the council members in that was to do some of those very things. And so it feels a little bit challenging and difficult for me, because I understand the state law and I understand the process of it, but I think we missed an opportunity to do what we said we were going to do, at least in engaging the residents as part of this process in an open forum. And now, instead of it being in an open forum, having these conversations, we're having other conversations. Again, we all have the right as private citizens to engage in those conversations, but it just feels a little bit hard because there's some of the same people that were put on the committee. So I just find it to be a little bit challenging for me to, in navigating all of this, because I think it was an artificial time crunch, a self-imposed time crunch that could have been changed. And yes, it all feels a little bit murky to me. Yes.
You're going to need a motion to extend the meeting.
Oh, yes, thank you. It is currently 9:29. We do have closed session yet for an attorney consultation, so we will need a motion to extend the meeting.
So I'll make a motion that we extend the meeting and to include the closed session. Do we need a time frame?
Do we need a time frame on that?
An hour? I recommend an hour.
Hour's good.
It's a very important
10:30.
issue. It's an important, very.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so maybe to wrap this one up, so my thought was that the committee would be one of education, one of investigation and education. We had multiple interpretations reading the law, so this would have been an opportunity to get a third party, somebody that's a lawyer that could tell us what the process is and give us the opportunity to put together some pros and cons. Where I find myself right now is my neighbors are asking me, hey, that I'm being presented with an opinion, with a petition, what should I do? So I'm giving them my thoughts. There's probably 6 other thoughts here that are being advised, so to speak. I just felt like this was an opportunity for us to jointly put those pros and cons together, understand the process, so that when we are asked those questions, we're doing it from a more educated and informed stance instead of what my opinion is. So, if we don't want to do anything more with it, I'm fine with that. I'm disappointed in how it went.
Mr. Combroni and Mr. Lamb.
Well, George has a lot of good points, but I wouldn't have problems with an independent survey, because we're all biased. Everybody, so maybe with an independent study or survey may be more acceptable. But I don't think we would get an honest answer to any of it, because you got 3 sides or different people. So maybe an independent, but I don't think it's right for us. I don't even think it's right for us to discuss it. Because if you don't want a village, I don't think it should be on its council, to be honest with you. That's just my opinion. Yeah, an independent one would be okay.
Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, I feel kind of stupid at this point because I was the one that insisted on having the 2 citizen members on the committee. I don't know if y'all recall that, but I insisted. And then I went along with, meeting the committee with the timetable. Certain of the council members have publicly advocated that they would, they'll go down with the village in so many quote unquote. And when one was included on the committee, a certain councilman said, I would never, I talked to them on the phone, they said I would never have recommended him if I knew he would be like that. Well, I like to have the opposition party at the table with me, okay, because that creates a more intense dialogue. And so, having Mr. Ford with me, and Mr. Papasek, myself, Darwin. Darwin is a strong advocate for the village. I get tired of fighting with him over, the village. I love the village. So I think there's a very strong advocacy for the village in our committees. I think there's a very strong advocacy for numerical realities. Okay, and some of us are very analytical, and we set aside our emotions. So I'm very content to let this lie until the citizens decide to bring it up. Like Stan said, the council people are saying that they don't think it's something for us to discuss here or argue about here. So the state's law has set up a specific procedure for us to have at. The interesting thing about the state law is it says if you actually do get to a commission or a committee, in order for an agreement to be formed, 2 of the 3 members of the village and 2 of the 3 members of the township must agree on whatever's agreed upon. It's not like a majority of the community. It says specifically that 2 members of the village and 2 members. So that means that agreement would absolutely have to be in the best interest of both communities, I would think, since the township representatives of such a committee would be supplied by the township. And I got to tell you, Orion Township is extremely together community. they have a very strong sense of self, like the village does. And they stick together, and they think together, and they plan together. So if any of these things come up, I hope that the village council can think and act in the same kind of, professional manner that they do. So, yeah, I'm willing to just wait.
I did know, I think I saw a member of the public who wanted to make a comment.
Good evening, Council. Justin Jurgens, 258 Lakeview. I was on the committee. Look, the subjectiveness that the committee started with is correct. I don't know who said it up here, but we had one that voted against even putting the committee together. He's on. One that is on TV telling everybody that they want to save, go down with the village. All that's correct. The objectiveness was discussed in the final meeting where you guys, this council, said, hey, let's put a committee together and just entertain the pros and cons. That was what I heard. If it was a dissolution, I can understand that, but that's not what the verbiage was. So I reject the fact that we are now deflecting on the decisions made. Unfortunately, for that committee, I was in the emails to set those time frames up. And again, a self-imposed time frame that could have been moved. So I think, it's hard to look at what happened, and I said this a couple meetings ago, and think anything other than, oh, hey, we just tried to bury this. The truth is if the village could be saved, great, I'm for that too. I got up here and I put my hand up and I said, look, I'm objective. But I do want to participate in the discovery, right? I liked what Councilmember Dan DeLitis put forth. For a minute, I thought Councilmember Lamb was actually objective in finding his own facts on that mission too. Sadly, what everybody kind of was beating around the bush here is there was emails intercepted that, he decided to go do it on his own. So if he was for it then, even though he complained about being on another committee and was told if he didn't want to be on one, don't volunteer anymore. I mean, the deflection here is completely disheartening, but this also leads to some of the other downfalls of what we're seeing here in this village. It's tough because, if we could have found some pros, like I said the first time, if we'd have found $1,000 between something that we could have saved between the village and the township, I guess it was worth my time. I would be happy to donate my time again for it. Case in point, I did talk with some of the folks over at the township because they had heard about it. A few of them know me, reached out to me and said, hey, what are you guys thinking? And I gave my own thoughts and said, wait till we get to that committee and I'll be happy to report to you. Or maybe if it gets so far, we bring you in with us to discuss what we found and see if you could concur with us, right? And the reception on that side was great. So I reject the idea that, hey, we couldn't have brought the township in. I know personally, just from the handful of conversations I had with a few of the folks over there, they were totally open to it. They see this village failing, slowly going bankrupt. I wish it wasn't the fact, right? I like the village myself. I told you, if it can be saved, let's save it. But we got to get down to brass tacks and figure out how that happens. This is a business, you guys. It goes from the top line down. And if we can't save it because we are going to bury our heads in the sand on spending, some hard choices are going to have to be made. And I think that's what this committee was really starting to just say, hey, where do we really stand here? And is there some help? And if there isn't help, then what? And that is what I signed on for. But I hope for public record what was said about who could or should have been on that committee. They put this email out here, and I was the only one that responded to it. So when we were trying to negotiate times, it was only 4 days. I was back 4 days after the last proposed date. So again, I imagine we could have moved that. I'm disappointed. I know some of you share that view. I hope you put it back together. Again, if it's just a fact-finding commission, because here's what you're going to deal with. Now we do have petitions out there. And if they are wrong, you're going to have to deal with those. And then, to Councilmember Lamb's point, it's legal. At least if we were just on a fact-finding mission, and I know
Your
I'm
4
done.
minutes.
It's just information proposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just building off of what Justin said, just wanted to mention, as we said, the intention, as Mr. Dentley just saw it and Justin was, where can we proactively look at maybe some cost savings there? Maybe we can get some combined scale of services, and then we do that. And that was the hope. That didn't occur. That's been discussed plenty here. But I think what you're seeing is a result of that inaction. The next step was the petition, because right in the letter that said, rightly or wrongly, we or can't or we're not legally allowed to do anything unless there's a petition, and then we have two paths forward. Nothing was done, so the petition is being formed, and then it's going to move forward in that way, right? So I don't think anybody here should be shocked that there's a petition be going around. He eventually forced our hands to have a petition. If there had been some movement and maybe some good savings or findings, or at least an investigation to see whether there was any, maybe this petition wouldn't be going around. I'm going to say it secondarily, and I understand what Mr. Ford said, but nobody has contacted the township, and I don't think, you're right, no legal standing for whatever they say before you enter into it. But if they did come into it, I think they would do it in good faith. They realize, even though we're the village, we're also township residents, and maybe they would. Maybe they'd opt not to until this took place. The challenge, as I said last time, nobody's reaching out and asking. Lastly, I'd say, if it does move forward, and I think that they might garner enough signatures for the petition, before the council decides who's going to be on that board of 2 and 4 with their, now you take a strong look, and there's no disrespect to Mr. Comparoni. If you're already saying, I'm not interested, I don't want to get rid of the village, I don't want to look at where those savings are, I don't think you're a good candidate to be objective for that. And I can appreciate your love for the village. I'm a village resident, I'd like to see it too. If I could find savings somewhere that would help us maybe get there, that would be fantastic. But, you know, I am a man of numbers, so let's go with them, see where we're at, see if there are savings. And if anybody's not willing to do that, then I respectfully say, please don't join that committee, because you're not giving the people a fair chance who are signing the petition and looking just to get answers. Thank you.
So I'm hearing there's no recommended motion or action to be taken from this discussion. So with that, I will move on to item number 11, call to the public. So just as the beginning of the meeting, if you want to speak on anything, please direct your comments to the chair, and you have 4 minutes. Is there anyone for call to the public?
Completely different topic again, but having been here at the last few meetings, and you got this nice projector, ideally, when you're having discussions about things and you've got presentations, you talked about the red streets and the blue streets. If people didn't get a handout, which are limited, or they're trying to do it off their small cell phone, I would be appreciative if you have that where it's projected here for all of your different findings or what you're looking to get approved. So that way somebody who came in, they could try to catch up real quickly and be able to see that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for a call to the public?
Rosemary Ford, 225 North Broadway. I would just like to comment when people are speaking of the village and township and possible dissolution, that I understand there are petitions going around town, and all I would ask of people is that make sure you do your due diligence, because my concern is people are just jumping at the fact that they think, oh, I'm going to save money, I'm going to be paying less in taxes. But what they have to keep in mind is you live in the village. The village is like many other municipalities. It has debt. The township would not be willing to pick up our debt. That's just common sense. So what would they do? Everybody's up in arms about special assessments, but make them aware that village residents, should it go that way, would be special assessed for the debt that the village has incurred. And I think people need to know that. So just make sure when you're doing it that you're just not signing it blindly. And hopefully all this information will come out, and it's a long process, so it's not going to happen overnight. But that's all I'm asking, is that you be careful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Jack Lovett, 573 Bellevue. I don't like the fact that we breezed over the letter of resignation for Mr. Sanchez. Did I hear you say, somebody put in their resignation today?
It will be on the village manager's comments because it's in his report.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say that I respect the professionalism you've maintained throughout this process. I know your department especially has seen a lot of struggle, and it's understandable. So I just wanted to say I have a lot of respect for you and how you handled everything. So.
Anyone else for call to the public? I'll close call to the public. DDA Executive Director comments.
Good evening again, Matthew Gibb, DDA Director. Just a couple of updates. The DDA Board did adopt the 26-27 budget. There was some information in the packet that I had pulled from the prior council meeting, forgetting that the good village manager had made some amendments to the PA 57 fee. I'm correcting that for the record with your good clerk, Ms. Stout, who does such an excellent job. So just to update the board, we did adopt the budget as you adopted the budget. So what's in our packet is just informational packet, is not what would be adopted. I'll confirm that in writing with the clerk so that the record's clear. We did hold true to our budgetary approach. We eliminated the assistant director position. Janet Bloom has been, therefore, her contract has been terminated. And so we are continuing to cut the expense side of the DDA in order to meet that $900,000+ delta. So that process has happened. We did bring in Tracy Woodrum, who's a local resident who's been very involved in the community over the years, as the administrative coordinator. So we've traded out a rather pricey position of assistant director for an hourly position of administrative coordinator. We'll patch that together, which is good. It seems a little bit maybe inconsequential, but the volunteer group called the Illuminators that has received so much really statewide attention, if not regional attention, did win the Volunteer Group of the Year at the main event program with the County Main Street program, and has been recognized by the national program as well. We're up to about 86, 87 actual very active volunteer members in the group. I just always hate to hear how completely combative and negative that things like that. I stand up and say that, and I feel awkward saying it. It's like this huge, awesome news about great people in our community, but we've just listened 3 hours of how the DDA is horrible and is why we have a bad lot in life. So for what it's worth, the Illuminators are pretty cool. The American Bloom Organization, on their own accord, is in town right now, attempting to nominate and recognize the quality of our town as one of significant place and investment, and quite frankly, beauty. That again seems to get ignored sometimes. Well, we're all horrible down there at 118 North Broadway, and maybe it doesn't matter, but it does. And so all of your property values and the businesses in this town are not because you fight on your council. Trust me, nobody wants to be here because of that, but it is because of the rest of it. And so the DDA is doing their job as well. One suggestion that was completely ignored in some of the prior committee work on how to address the water and sewer rates. Mr. Sanchez done a phenomenal job. I'm very sorry to hear the news, but I'm sure our good village manager will fill us in. There is about 300 plus taps that are waiting to be built in this town, all 1 inch or greater because of the nature of the developments that are waiting. If I was on council, which I'm grateful I'm not, I would be asking why aren't we not building those? For every 1 inch tap, 300 plus would be a substantial savings. It seems a far bit better than trying to squeeze the last $100,000 out of the DDA. But nobody seems to ask that question. Nobody seems to care about growing out of it. They only seem to be caring about how can I pick the pocket of a different entity within our midst, and how negative it can become, and how tiresome it is for the public, including myself, to continually listen to how negative this is and how false the accusations are. It's just so disheartening and disappointing. But there is a solution. You could grow out of this. Like any other community in America, you never solve a budget crisis by picking the pocket of another department. It's never happened in the history of our republic, ever, in any community. You can only grow out of it. And so if you don't want to grow and you want to keep ignoring the fact that the DDA and those that are trying to invest in this community are investing strongly in the community, then go ahead and keep ignoring it. And you guys can keep arguing and fighting and squeezing the pennies, and trust me, that will fail. But the DDA is strong, and we kept our commitments, and the budget's adopted. Thanks.
Thank you. Item number 13, council comments. Mr. Camperoni.
Okay, I'm going to make it fast because I want to get out of here. The good news about tonight, everybody listen to this, your water prices went down 10%, your water. Am I right? Okay, your water went down. Your sewer went up. So just stay off the toilet and it won't be so bad. But water prices, actually, like that gentleman that was here, he's in the township, but he has village water, doesn't pay the sewer. He's like, his bill's going to go down, so I wish he was here to hear that. I got a big note here about, ethics and council and, shouldn't be on council if you don't want a village, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's just, I'm not even going to say nothing about that. The Jubilee is this weekend, am I right?
Yes.
But it's not here. It's over there. They got it. They got it. Okay. Very nice venue. The Wildwood is the best place I've ever been to, and it's the only concert venue I'll go to. It's a good place. That's it for me. Good night.
Ms. Mosier.
Well, as always, I always want to thank everybody for coming. We had a big crowd today. And I want to give my special thanks to Mr. Sanchez, who has done an amazing job and is going to be missed greatly. And I don't want you to go, but I understand why. But I don't like it. But I don't think a lot of people will like it. But I'm happy for you that you found something closer to home, and that's good. You drive a lot. And also to Chris, thanks to him as well. As part of your department, you guys have done an amazing job, and I just want to thank you. That's it.
Mr. Lamb.
Once again, I'd like to thank all the people who came tonight. It's amazing that you all speak up. I want to apologize again to the committee members that didn't get to be on the committee. I regret that for years, I'm sure, and you won't let me forget it. Mr. Sanchez, it's been a pleasure to spend the last 5 years of my life chasing you down the street to get you to do stuff. Okay? I feel that after Mr. Van Portfleet left, it was my job to keep rounding you up. And I had the pleasure of speaking to Chris today. He was out apparently driving around aimlessly, but I discovered that he was reading the meters electronically. They drive the streets and they collect all our meters with an electronic data. And as usual, he stopped and assisted one of my neighbors, one of my single older lady neighbors, and assisted her with one of her difficulties that was beyond the scope of his job. And because it's a small community, he was able to just reach out to some other friend in the community, and they solved their problems. That was great. I wish you luck. I'm sure you do well. Be sure to give us your number so we can call you and complain. And the same for Chris. He's always welcome back here. We can talk about bodybuilding stuff. You can see how it's going. Other than that, I just want to assure everyone, I have no animosity against any other person in this village, including the DDA board or any of their members. Okay, I am autistically, financially driven, and I think my duty is to shepherd the village's money. So that's all I watch really is the money, and I'm always looking at the money, and that's why I get myself in so much trouble with you guys. All right, because I don't consider the human element. I would like to actually thank Mr. Ford for being so human and putting aside some of his personal feelings to consider things like the steeple and the committee, where he talked about something distasteful to him, but he was extremely professional, and we all agreed to get together to understand each other's feelings so that we could move forward without fighting. So what we're doing now, you guys may not understand this, we're moving forward as a council without having some kind of major political battle where we all get talking about somebody did something I'm talking about the consolidation. So this is the only way I could see forward for us as a council to work without fighting, being emotional, casting aspersions, was to stay in the law, stay in our lane, and try to keep all this professional and as unemotional as possible, because it's going to be an extremely emotional time for the village. Staff is leaving. It's a lot of changes going on, and I'm very nervous about it. So,
Mr. Papachek.
Yeah, some of the same sentiment. Yeah, I don't want it to come off as this 3-hour hate session on the DDA. I like the DDA. I go to DDA. They put on great events. The Illuminators do a wonderful job. I look at it as we're in it together. There's a 1A and a 1B, right? And there's residents, there's businesses, and to me, it's just an allocation. What are the pressing needs? What are the funding mechanisms, and what should be explored? And it's not, it's an exercise, I think, that we look at just to make sure questions are being asked and that we're operating as efficiently as we can. I've said it, we're a small community with limited resources, but we all want everything, and it's hard to afford everything. So where I keep landing is, what are the other options to fund everything? If we can't fund everything, maybe it's too expensive to run a village the way we want to run a village these days within a township. I guess we'll see what the people want in terms of a petition to join forces, and at that point, investigation will be underway. Thanks.
Mr. Ford.
Wes, I miss you, and I appreciate all the work you put into this village. When you're here, you love it as much as the people that lived here, and I appreciate that. Same goes for Chris. We don't maybe interact with him as much, but we see him out on the roads, and he, the leader of a department, really reflects on the staff, and the staff's been great, and it's to your credit. I did attend the Main Street program that we're a part of because of our DDA, and I love the fact that they do represent us very well in the things that they're doing. The group that works with Mr. Gibb, I think that they're on the right track with that stuff. At that Main Street program, what Mr. Gibb failed to mention, and I was waiting for him to, was they were awarded $20,000 to be used for their activities, and it was due to the Illuminators and the group that Matt put together for that, and that's just a big plus. They bring a lot to the community. That's all I have.
Mr. Andelitas?
Wes, best of luck to you and Chris. Thank you. It's been a pleasure working with both of you. And the other thing I wanted to mention, again, the Jubilee, Thursday through Sunday at Wildwood. I know that the plan is for it to be bigger and better, and I hope that we can all support the Lions, the big fundraiser for the Lions, big event. So I encourage everybody to participate and support. Thanks.
Echoing all the comments for Wes and Chris, I mean, he's still stuck with us for like another 20-some days or something like that. So if you see him out and about, remember to thank him for all the service. We are losing a lot of historical and institutional knowledge from over the last decade. Both Wes and Chris just bring a wealth of information about Lake Orion. If you aren't aware, Lake Orion's just a little bit unique in our infrastructure, and they find things that still surprise them, even with 10 years of experience based on what has been done previously in the lake. It's just a little bit challenging community. So we are going to deeply miss all the institutional knowledge and the dedication that they have brought to the village. So huge thank you to them. Speaking of DPW though and projects, and we just talked about seawalls and everything, I really would like to see the Meeks Park sidewalk get moved forward. I just walked through Meeks Park today and it is pretty, I don't want it to be one of those things where it's failed and now we have to close the sidewalk and now we're reacting instead of being proactive. And so that is something we've known about for a while and needs to get done. With the DDA this year was accredited by the National Main Street Program for, is it 18 years? Am I getting that right? 18th year, which is, some of you might think, well, I don't know anything about that. Okay, it's actually a really big deal. They bring in national people to come and evaluate the entire community. And it also opens up opportunities, grant opportunities for the DDA, and they've capitalized on that with different monies that they have been able to bring in and complete projects in the village. So well done, and well done to the Illuminators too, who won that award. We had a presentation at a special meeting before this today about paid parking from Park Mobile. So you heard some people say something about that. The council took no action at this time on it. It will come up for further discussion, I'm certain. I personally am not a fan and not an advocate of paid parking, but I know those discussions are going to be forthcoming at some point. And then I think my last comment is we just went through an entire budget cycle, budget sessions. We had budget workshops, we had different things, and to come to this place, and we had a committee about the water rates, and to come to this place where it's still so unsettled, we have to move forward somehow with our water system and sewer system, and then to have to kind of backtrack and navigate how are we going to move forward with that. When we've had options in the past, things weren't, there's not just one option before us. There have been multiple options for different things presented. So it's just a little bit frustrating that we're at this stage and looking forward and we need to complete 2 and 3. How are we going to do it? Now we have to kind of start all over. So I'm a little disappointed in that we've been through over the last months looking at this. So none of this was a surprise coming up to us. But now we still have to go back and figure things out. So, I also watch the money, where money goes, and, you can have different approaches and different viewpoints on how things are funded and where things come from. And, it's something we're going to have to keep navigating moving forward. I think that's all I have today. So with that, village manager comments.
Thank you, Your Honor. Council, you've received the village manager's report. As has been mentioned several times, Public Works Director Wes Sanchez has resigned his position with the village effective July 12th. Wes has served as an outstanding member of our DPW and executive team since December 2014 as labor and department director. Wes came to us with a wide variety of knowledge and experience in many areas. He is experienced in equipment operating, equipment repair, and landscaping. He holds an S3 drinking water license from the state of Michigan. His administrative skills in managing Eagle permits, reporting, testing make us proud every day. Wes will leave an enormous void in our team and huge shoes to fill, but at the same time, we are so happy for you, Wes, in your new endeavors. Public Works Foreman Chris Carpenter has submitted his resignation effective July 6th. Chris joined our village team in June 2015. He brought with him a wealth of knowledge of grounds and building maintenance, having previously worked for Rochester Schools for 15 years. Chris also brought to DPW other helpful skills, including his landscaping experience, building knowledge, and snow removal experience. He holds an S4 drinking water license from the state of Michigan. Chris was promoted from labor to foreman in January 2019. He and his Kentucky adventure stories of side-by-side trips and copperhead snakes will be sorely missed by all of us who have had the pleasure to work with him. But we miss him all. We wish him all the best in his new job endeavors. Council, I will be reaching out to you with yet another doodle poll to try to get work sessions set up for the capital improvement plan and fee schedules. So look forward to those links. And I provided you with important upcoming dates. That's all I have tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. With that, item 15, closed session items. A, consultation with attorney on trial or settlement strategy for pending litigation, Pugh versus Village of Lake Orion, MCL 15.2681E. So I'll make a motion to adjourn, to move to closed session.
Support.
Roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Lamb?
Yes.
Councilmember Mosher?
Yes.
Councilmember Comparoni?
Yes.
President Rudd?
Yes.
Councilmember Danielidis?
Yes.
Councilmember Papachak?
Yes.
Pro Tem Ford?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. We'll move to closed session in